Welcome back to the Premier League preview show. It returns for the Boxing Day games as the Christmas season is here. Hope you're keeping well, people. We'll roll through the intro now. Wagwan, everyone. I hope you're doing well and welcome back. Welcome back to Tereak Talks. Welcome back to another Premier League preview show here with my brother and my wonderful co-host in Edmin. How you doing, man?
Yeah, all good vibes. Paxton already given us some shade in the comments, but yeah, apologies, guys. It will be worth it. It will be worth the wait, we promise.
It will be. My guys, I know this anticipated return has been delayed by even more. As Paxton says right here, I can see 35 minutes. You know, guys, if I mentioned it to people in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, make sure you click the link in the description. It was delayed because, you know, babysitting duties. As this time of the year, mamas just went Christmas food shopping. You know how it is, and yeah, got delayed. And hey, I'm just glad it ain't my bank account they're spending it with. Yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah,
turkeys need to get bought. That's what happens right now. Turkey with your mom, there'll be turkey, there'll be salmon, there'll be some chicken, there'll probably be beef that no one really touches. There's all of that stuff that's going to be bought.
Exactly. So yes, people. So my apologies, but we are here, and guys, I'm glad to be back. Might be a little bit rusty, you know. This is pre-season form. You know, talking about dusting off the cobwebs, not just Arsenal and your club, Man United. Wolves had a club break, but so did I, and it was kind of unforced. It wasn't planned by that necessary, but I'll be honest, guys. It's been quite busy the last few months. Those of you that know, I started a new job in the summer, and yeah, it was just getting quite busy and loads of stuff happening on top. Was keeping up the content, and we went through a busy period. And yeah, I felt like I was suffering with a bit of burnout. I also got ill during that period, and so did Ed as well, didn't you? Was you the first one? Or was it me?
No, it was you. We've been ill for about the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
there's a red cross above our door.
Yeah,
plague or something stepped on here. I don't quite know what's going on with us.
I know it's been going around now. I've been seeing it going all over. In America as well, in London. It was running rife there. Hope you're all keeping safe, people. And if you are suffering with it, I hope that you are well, and I hope that you get over it soon, because I know plenty of people are suffering with it right now. Little Drew, he's got a cold here too. So yeah, but yeah, and I was suffering with kind of a bit of burnout and that, but. We're here now and we're back, and club football's back. I'm back, and yeah, we got a new year to come as well soon, and plenty more things coming on the channel in my own personal life as well. I'm getting back to the gym, getting back to working hard, and trying to get back into a routine. But yeah, I have missed you all, ladies and gentlemen, really have, and yeah, and I'm glad to be back. And how you know what? There's no better way to kind of start it off. We did an England stream. That was the last one on here again for the Iran game. Well, little briefly, because I know it's been talked about to death about the World Cup. But yeah, Ed, what was your thoughts overall on the tournament? There was a lot of talk going into it, and arguably the football that was played was probably one of the best it's definitely one of the best I've seen. You're a little bit older than me. Just had to put that out there. So yeah, how would that rank in your opinion?
Yeah, I think overall the quality of the football was incredible. We'll leave the politics to the people to talk. The football on the pitch was, yeah, I think it's the best World Cup I've seen. 4 games in a day. If our employees are watching, I was definitely working, not watching all 4 games. That was incredible. Messi winning it at the end was brilliant. Briefly on England, it was one of those weird. It's a weird feeling as an England fan. I'm pushing 38 in a couple of weeks' time. I've seen a lot of World Cups now. It's weird for us to go out in the quarterfinals and still feel like it was okay. Put a good performance in, tried hard, worked well on that night. It could have gone either way. Yeah, happy with the performance that England put in. Happy that South is staying overall. The World Cup in itself was brilliant, and that final was just like the chef's kiss. It was the cherry on the top, wasn't it? It was a World Cup final full of mistakes, class play, attacking threat, interest, some mistakes that were in there. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the best World Cup that I've seen in terms of the quality of football that was played, to the drama, the entertainment. And there were so many storylines that was going into that tournament with, Messi, Ronaldo being most likely their final World Cup, Modric, end of an era there, Morocco coming out of the blue, really surprising in everyone. And, there was plenty of it. And we got Moss in here as well, Canada. That was their first World Cup in how long? So yeah, there's plenty more, and we got plenty more stories that are not so great that broke through, and some beautiful ones too. So yeah, it was an excellent tournament. But how are you feeling now in terms of, before we get into the comments, I promise we will get in so I can big up each and every one of you. But before we get into it, how ready are you for club football? Because I've seen it vary quite a bit. Like people are like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, but do I feel ready yet? Not too sure. What about you, Paul?
So we spoke for about an hour, didn't we, during the penalty shootout, and then afterwards, when that conversation was done, Messi lifted that cup in his lingerie, and I was ready. I was ready then for the Wolves. I was ready then for the Wolves games to come back. I was ready to do this again. I was ready to do Premier League. Watch Premier League, get match of the day on, all that kind of stuff. I am ready for it. Boxing Day, everything's on Amazon Prime. I'm sure we'll have it on at Mommy's at some point. So yeah, I am more than ready. I think I put in the Discord the other day, massive hypocrite from I am with international football. Not interested in it at all until the tournament comes around, and then it's the best thing ever. And then as soon as it's done, back onto it now, back onto the Premier League, back onto club football. And then I'll see you again in 2 years' time when the next tournament turns around. So yeah, that's me. How about you?
I'm more than ready. Absolutely. More than you can believe, as Pep Guardiola would say. So yeah, with Arsenal, where the position that we're in, and there's so much question marks that, like, coming from our own fan base at the moment. We'll get into it when we talk about, Gabriel Jesus, the big injury news there. But what we're going to do in the January transfer window, with that coming so quickly around too. It's going to be interesting to see how we bounce back. Can we pick up that momentum that we had going into the international break with 86% win percentage? Ridiculous. One draw, one loss, and then won the rest of the games. Ridiculous, and that's great form into the next round. Well, the round of 16 in the Europa League 2. So yeah, it's going well at the moment for Arsenal. So yeah, I can't wait. And that good feeling, that great atmosphere that we've managed to build up, and Arteta's spoken about on that Monday Night Football special. Can't wait for it, man. And then just there's so much more storylines that we have to, we'll talk about with club football when we get into Manchester United, of course, as well. But yeah, people, let me go and give you all a big welcome, because it's been a while. It has been. Big up yourself, Moss, and it's this time of the year, so he's always going to change the name to Christmas time. It is Christmas time, and he's cheering on Eddie and Ketia right there, as he's going to be our main man, our leading line, our number 9, while wearing the 14 on his back for the near future until Jesus is back. And yet, it is preview for the Boxing Day matches, and I hope you're keeping well. Merry Christmas to you as well. Wilf is in here too, saying greetings, your wonderful TTF. They're back. The boys are back in town. You can sing that, people. If I sing it too good, then copyright strikes in that. But it's nice to see you in here. And big up my brother Brad in the place as well, saying yes, sir. And the only thing less likely than T starting on time is Spurs winning a trophy. And in Paxton, giving more stick. Big up yourself, Pax. Hope you're keeping good. Says we should form a union and strike at this rate. There's too many of that going on, causing too much disruption.
Just before you move on, T, as well, public service announcement. In the chat, I want you to spam happy birthday to Paxton. It was 10 days ago. I missed it in the Discord because people have been ill. So I am sorry. But Paxton, who's probably the biggest supporter that has never come on the channel, all in the Discord, always in the comments. He's like an OG and an absolute legend. It was his birthday 10 days ago. So happy birthday. Proper shout out, and I apologise. I missed it in the Discord. I missed it. And there's one more coming up at the end of the month as well. But yeah, Paxton, happy birthday for 10 days ago.
Happy birthday, my brother Paxton.
Sorry,
I hope you had a great time. I hope you had a wonderful time, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas coming up as well, Pax, man. You deserve it for the love and support you share to this community and to other communities around as well, man. You're an absolute legend. OG status. If I could, Get an OG right next to your name right there. But big at yourself, Pax. Who else have we got in here? We got Vibes. Tereak went to get a haircut. I mean, it would have been way. I think it would have been way later if I went for a haircut.
I'd have been doing it by myself, Vibes. I'd have been doing it by myself.
I went for a haircut on Wednesday. Yeah, that took about an hour and a half or something stupid like that. But yeah, it was all good. So it would take longer. But hope you're keeping good, my brother. Vibes. Matt is in here as well. Long time, my bro. Saying, hey, lads, big up yourself. Bobby K in the Canada. TNO, hope you're keeping good. Saying big up to Tereak and Ed and everyone in the chat. Come on, I can't say the rest. But yes, he's also on his way down here to watch the Arsenal game in January for the North London derby with Bobby, the 3Ks, Bobby K, Little K, and Big K. So they're going to
get on that channel at that point, and then the vlogs will be serious with the boys.
Exactly. Make sure you subscribe to 3 Spurs Boys, and also we got Merrick Chris as well. But Chris, I don't ever call him that. Moss as well. Big up yourself, Steffi. Hope you're keeping good. Who else have we got in here? We got Mr. 200 in the place. Hope you're keeping good. Oh, you're live. I dozed off for a while. Hey, hopefully this can bring you back to life. Big up Scotch in the place. Hope you're keeping good, Casey. And yes, I hope everyone is all keeping well too. Just scrolling through. And yes, people, we're going to get started now. We're going to get started into this. And no better place to start. Arsenal fans, we've got plenty of you in here. With the league leaders, the ones who top the table, who are the star on top of the tree this Christmas, and that is Arsenal at home to West Ham, and the evening kickoff on Boxing Day. So once we've had all the fun, we've played all the games, the kids are in bed, you get to watch the best team in the league. But Ed, hit us with the form and stats for this one.
Yeah, so just a live update. I think Moss has dropped it in the chat, but I think Haaland's back to scoring already. It's 1-0 to Man City in the League Cup. So Arsenal, West Ham, last 5 meetings, unbeaten for Arsenal, 4 wins and just the 1 draw. And we will briefly go through the form, but I think form will be very different with the breaker that we've had. Arsenal, 4 wins and 1 loss in the last 5 games. And for West Ham, the exact opposite, 4 losses and just the 1 win. So the form, if you were to carry it over that long, is definitely all in Arsenal's favour.
Yeah, for sure. And when we're going to be talking about the injuries and suspensions and players that might play and might not play, this is definitely going to be the most difficult time to try and predict this, because players coming back at different times, at different levels of fitness, sharpness. Who knows how long when people have come back? I couldn't even tell you exactly when each Arsenal player has come back yet, so let alone for other clubs. So it will be difficult. So we'll try and keep it brief, but yeah, because we never know who's going to play. But for Arsenal, Gabriel Jesus is out with an injury. Takehiro Tomiyasu, who's not played any games since he's come back to the club because of a hamstring injury, but he could potentially be in the squad. Definitely don't see him starting. Emil Smith Rowe, the news broke out today that the game could be coming too soon for him. He hasn't suffered a setback. It's just Arsenal going to try and ease him back after groin surgery. William Saliba, who's coming back tomorrow, I believe. So, yeah, it will be interesting to see if he does play, because, he's not playing much at all in the World Cup. It just mainly, if he may even start. You never know, because with players that haven't played a single game and haven't been a mainstay, and maybe he will come back and have a part to play in this game. We'll have to wait and see. Zinchenko, he's suffering muscular tightness. That's been said. They're keeping it quite hush-hush with this injury at the moment. Very similar to Tomiyasu's last year. So, whatever, I think it might be in relation to do with his calf injury once again, which has plagued him so far at the start of the season. And another one that we can confirm, Reece Nelson picked up an injury in that game against Juventus. And Arteta said today that he thinks he will be out for a while. So it'll be a matter of weeks rather than days. So he definitely won't be fit for this one. For West Ham, so Mikel Antonio, who suffered also a thigh injury, he's a doubt heading into this one, a major one. So most likely won't start. At best, he'll be in the squad. No Cornet in there. Aaron Cresswell, Gianluca Scamacca, Naif Ajerd, of course, who suffered that injury whilst playing for Morocco. Excellent. Whenever he's played for West Ham and Morocco, he has been excellent, but he's suffering with injuries ever since he's made this move to England. And Kurt Zouma as well suffered a knee injury. There's no news that has been said on that since prior to the World Cup. So, yeah, those some big injuries right there. And of course, we don't know the likes of Declan Rice if he will be fit and available. But whilst me and Ed are going to be like talking about each team and the game, get your predictions in the chat, guys. Make sure you do so. Chance of winning some major giveaways at the end of the season. And yeah, and try and beat us as well. Because me and Ed, we like to compete against each other for a forfeit. Like we did last season. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. Ed eating that gummy bear. But yeah, Arsenal, West Ham. Ed, let's hear your thoughts on Arsenal with Gabriel Jesus' injury, being top of the league. What's your thoughts on Arsenal this season and going into the second half?
That's the season. I think if you take away this break we've had, they've been incredible, absolutely unbelievable performance that even the vast majority of even positive Arsenal fans wouldn't have had you top by 5 points at the winter break. Goals 33 in 14. That's really good as well, isn't it? And I think for me, the biggest thing was the defence. 11 goals. It's impressive. And it's that defence that's going to need to keep you going at the minute with Gabriel Jesus. Although the goals slightly dried up towards the end before the break for the World Cup, the goal contributions for him in particular, still very much an FPL asset, still very much an asset for Arteta and this Arsenal side. It's going to be interesting because with Nketiah, we know that he is a drop-off in quality for Jesus, but there's a lot of strikers that would be a drop-off of Jesus. There's a reason that, Jesus was at Man City and a Pep Guardiola side for as long as he was, and how well used he was there and how well Arteta used him as well. So I think with both of these games and with all of these games that we're going to look at, there's going to be some rustiness and some sluggishness to get back into the swing of Premier League football, especially those that didn't go to the World Cup. They're going to be on the back of, some friendlies and fitness work at the club. So it'll be interesting to see whether there'll be a change in dynamic. Maybe that's something you could talk about, T, is Nketiah being the striker going to change the way the front three work?
You see, this is the big question that is being spoken about a lot around the fan base with Arsenal at the moment, because, as you said, the obvious is the drop-off in quality from Nketiah, from Jesus to Nketiah is definitely there. It's just about how great that drop-off is. Wilf, massive fan of Nketiah, and for myself, compared to a lot of people in the fan base, big fan of Eddie as well. But my issue is, and this is what I'm hoping for, this is what we can get with Nketiah, maybe less chance creation, but more chance conversion, because he is more of a box striker, more of a predator, a poacher in the box, and gets into those positions where Jesus might not, because he's dropped so deep and he's worked so hard to link up, play out wide, and Jesus can create a chance off of his own bat. We saw when we played you just before the break, he had a massive part in our opening goal, going out left, creating that overload, and he's very natural there, having played across the whole front three for Manchester City and Brazil. He's been a massive asset in that part, and what we definitely know is Eddie Nketiah he's not as technically as good. I don't think he's as natural as going out wide and driving at players and having those little interchanges. But what Eddie can do, and what we won't lack, and I really don't think we won't lack in the press, which Jesus is a fantastic presser. Best in the league, Pep Guardiola said. But whenever I've watched Eddie play, he's caused so many mistakes from goalkeepers. I remember Meslier last season. I remember him doing it against Southampton. I've seen him do it in the Carabao Cup against Sunderland and stuff as well. He's relentless and he's dangerous in that sense. And he's more of a box striker. It's going to be massive. And he's got a massive part to play, and he will have a run of games. Even if it doesn't quite bang for this first game and he's not quite sharp, he's not quite there, I know a lot of the fan base will go, yeah, that's it. This is why we're going to miss him. We're going to drop off completely. But he will have a run of games now, and this is what he's always wanted. And we saw last season with a run of games what he could prove. So if I was to predict, I wouldn't be surprised if he scores more goals in this period than what Jesus has in the Premier League. But I do think our chance creation may drop off in the bigger games, like when we've got Tottenham to come, when we've got Manchester United. We may not be able to keep possession as high up as well, maybe in a bit deeper areas and into our own third and the middle third of the pitch, maybe not in and around their box as much, because Jesus' ball retention in tight areas, tight spaces is another skill that's underrated. So yeah, it's gonna prove big, but then also just a caveat as well. With Saka and Martinelli being back, that's going to be huge for him. And having Odegaard, Xhaka, Partey, keeping those guys fit as well. And if we can get Zinchenko back, Tierney's looked really good in those friendlies, playing in that inverted role. He's really picking that up well and grasping that position, and get Ben White back to his best in there too. What about West Ham for you now, bro, on the opposite end of the table, who have had a really poor start to the season for their liking, given what David Moyes has done the past couple of years with West Ham, taking them into the semi-final of the Europa League last season, and was knocking on the door of the Champions League in the season before that. What's your thoughts on them so far?
Well, I think we've seen, maybe similar to what you were just talking about with the change in striking options for Arsenal. West Ham, obviously, they heavily invested in Scamacca over the summer, but buying a striker to do well in the Premier League is not an easy thing to do. So if you have someone like Nketiah's level as the backup, I think that is an incredibly blessed position to be in, because I think we've seen with players like Scamacca that have come in that there is a little bit of bedding in time that needs to be waited on, and teams don't have a lot of time to wait on. West Ham, currently 16th, a couple of wins away from being from teams below them, being dragged very much into this relegation battle that they'd want to be no part of. And you'd think with the spending they've done over the summer and the event they've done in the teams recently, and of course the European adventures they've been on, they should be nowhere near 16th. I think they're going to struggle this season. I thought that at the start of the season, and I still think that now. I thought they were going to be comfortable, but I didn't think they were going to be anywhere near the heights they were at now. I didn't think they would be this low.
What areas of the team make you feel like they're going to struggle? Is it them? Is it defense, midfield, attack?
I think it's the attack. I think I'm just looking now at the goals they've scored. They've scored 12 goals in 15 games. It's not great. The defence isn't overly bad, only letting in 17. So obviously the biggest thing for them has been the fact that they've just been on the odd goal out in games. And I think they did that against Crystal Palace, I think, towards the end of October when we stopped for the World Cup. I think it's the chance creation that we saw it dry up towards the end of last year. Antonio was dropping out of people's FPL teams because he wasn't scoring. He wasn't getting assists. It was sort of good screamers from Ben Rama and Lanzini that were kind of winning them games towards the end of the season, and Craig Dawson getting goals from set pieces and stuff. I think it's chance creation and goals for this West Ham team that I think is the biggest issue. That's why they went out, spent 40-odd million on Scamacca, and he's looked very hit and miss in games that he's played as well, because coming into this Premier League it's a culture shock on various levels for players. So I think for me, it's scoring less than a goal a game for a team that really want to be in and around those European places, top 8 places. Clearly the issue is that end of the pitch.
There you go. Right there. Let's see what you guys are saying about Arsenal and West Ham before we go into our thoughts and predictions, and then yours as well. Eddie is going to smash it. You heard it here first, says Wilf. Always going to say that. But he goes on to explain, says, with Eddie up front, it's going to throw off opponents' game plan, as they would have had a plan for Jesus. Going to work in our favour. Do you think, Wilf, that there's going to be much of a difference in our play, in how Arsenal are going to set up? Because I don't think so. I think we'll see Eddie try and drift out wide. He's been working on those areas of his game, trying to get stronger and holding up the ball and and, you know, try and work himself in those wide areas. And we saw in the Europa League, Arteta, put him out on that left. I think it's trying to embed him in there, get him used to dropping into those wide areas and creating overloads there. So I'm not sure if we're going to play too differently, but he does give a different threat to what Jesus would in the box. Mr. 200 says Arteta trusts Eddie. That's big facts. Gave him that number 14 and the big contract right there. And he knows more about football than me. So I trust Eddie. Exactly. Yeah, he knows more about football than all of us here. So if he trusts Eddie, as you know, I can't not go against him. I can't say that. Me personally, I would still want us to get another striker. You know, Ed's gotten a nicked one. Yeah, I agree. This is where me and Moss are. I think me and Moss are on the exact same wavelength there. I hope Eddie smashes it, but we needed a striker before Eddie, in my opinion, and I think you would agree with that as well. We need more firepower, and you know what? And it's not because it's Eddie; it's because even beyond Eddie, we have no one else. So Eddie's gonna have to play so many games in this short space of time: Premier League, FA Cup games, which are coming in thick and fast. So yeah, I want another striker in there too. So Paxton saying about West Ham. West Ham's peak is over. They can get top half each season, but more teams have evolved. Now Moyes should be proud of what he's done, but he's done what he can. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and the age of that squad too. There's, you know, as Ed said, the attack is the worry. Mikel Antonio in his late 30s seems to be coming, you know, past his peak now. You got the likes of Fornals and those players there, and you know the aging Q-Fouls, and yeah, the real core that have really been able to really push them on in recent seasons are seeming to get over their peak too. Have we got anything else here? Moyes should be doing better with that squad. Paqueta, Scamacca, good point. He should be doing better. But is Moyes the man to be getting the best out of those players who are more? Who have a lot more flair about them, I'd say. They do have that work ethic that David Moyes would want, but that flair and will want to get into those areas, possibly so. Saka is going to go to another level this second half of the season due to Jesus being out and has had a good World Cup. One thing you can't doubt with Saka, Ed, and you'll agree, when there's pressure on the shoulders, he steps up and he always steps up for it as well. Do you believe in? Do you believe Saka will rise to the occasion?
Oh, Saka has to. Saka has to, doesn't he? He's your difference maker. He's unbelievable player, unbelievable wise head on such young shoulders. I love him. I think I think Will said to me, I think over the checking the hairline. Will said to me over the break for the World Cup, if you don't love Saka, then there's something wrong with you. And I think that's definitely the case, because also it's not just like he's a lovely, polite boy that you want your daughter to bring home or whatever, but he's really good at football. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that kid is 21? Is he 21? And he's already a first name on a team sheet on the team that's top of the league, and he's English. He ticks so many boxes. He's an incredible player, and it will be interesting to see what he will do now, because he will be relied on a little bit because of the injury to Jesus. So I hope for all you Gooner fans and for Saka and for England that Bradley's right and he's going to pick it up, and all he's ever done is exponentially get better. So I've got nothing but confidence that he'll do that. Whenever the chips are down, or he's taken a hit, he's just rode it and gone back and got better. So I don't see that stopping now.
And for the game, Arsenal versus West Ham, what is your prediction going into this one here?
Yeah, I've written all mine down, but I haven't told T what they are. I am going for a little bit of a bitty game. West Ham trying to just keep it tight, but I'm going to go with 1-0. 1-0 Arsenal, and I'm hoping, for FPL reasons, it's a Xhaka boom.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I'm gonna. What did you say 2-0 Arsenal?
1-0.
1-0. Okay, I'm gonna go 2-0 Arsenal then. I'm gonna go 2. I don't think we're not gonna see free flowing football. With the players just coming back after the World Cup, players at different levels of fitness, even and sharpness. Yeah, in that sense. So I think it will be a bit bitty. But Arsenal being at home, the good atmosphere, Boxing Day, first game back, will carry us over the line in that sense. And West Ham will make it difficult, as David Moyes would like to do, set his team up well on the counter-attack and pose some threats in there. If Saliba's not ready, I would move Ben White. I don't want Holding. Sorry, I don't want him there. He's not, in terms of how Arsenal want to play at this moment. If Holding is a good defender, if you're going to be trying to hold on to a lead, you know, when we played against Wolves last season, when we had to bring him on, backs to the wall, heads it out, bang. We saw it in his best performance against Chelsea in that FA Cup game. But if you're trying to play out of the back with your fullbacks playing up high, yeah, it's a long day for Holding. So yeah, I'd move Ben White there and then even play Cedric at right back too. But yeah, 2-0 to the Arsenal. We're going for this one here. And let's move on into the second game. And do you know what? Well, what are you thinking, Ed, to go in second?
Should we go Villa Liverpool?
Villa Liverpool. I was thinking that one as well. Let's talk about
some
Villa
interesting
Liverpool,
talking points there.
Who are currently playing right now. Unai Emery and Aston Villa up against Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, who not at opposite ends when we talk about Arsenal, underachieved in that first half of the season. And we'll be looking forward to coming back and trying to regain their previous form. But Ed, hit us with the records and stats in this fixture here.
Yeah, so Villa Liverpool, this is actually weirdly going to be the 200th time that these teams are going to have met. And Liverpool have won exactly 50% of them. They've won 100 out of all of history. They have won 50% of the games between these two teams. And you can see that in the stats there at the bottom. The last 5 meetings, they've won the last 4 in a row, with that one loss being that ridiculous 7-2, was it? Do you remember that in the lockdown?
Yeah.
Grealish danced through a few players and, you know, there was about 7 deflections before it went in and stuff. Liverpool's form, again, we'll gloss over these 4 wins and just the 1 loss. They are, of course, playing as we speak. So currently they're drawing with Man City. And Villa, very up and down, has been the story of their season in a nutshell, with a win, a loss, a win, a loss, and a win.
Interesting right there. And in terms of the injury front for Aston Villa and Liverpool, Philip Coutinho. So yeah, interesting story surrounding him, as he's apparently requested to leave Aston Villa. Shock, horror, surprise. I remember a year ago I called this and I looked to be proven wrong. Right? I looked to be proven wrong at the time because he started really well. He started on fire. I remember Martin being on my case about this, but yeah, I said it wouldn't work out. It doesn't look like it will for Philip Coutinho, who apparently wants to go back to Brazil, but he's got a mysterious thigh injury. So we'll see about that. And another Brazilian who we certainly know is out injured is Diego Carlos there. For Liverpool, this break was definitely good for them, getting a lot of their injured players back and rested and able to get them back and playing Premier League football. But that's not the case for Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota, who aren't expected to be back in for at least a few months now, a couple of months now, 3 months for Diaz, who picked up another injury to his knee, and it's a setback, and must be horrible. It's horrible for a footballer in that case when it's your profession and you're trying to work back for an injury and you get a setback like that. Of course, as you know, Ed, you'll be able to you know talk from a fan's perspective when that happened to Pedro Neto when he had that setback for a key player like that, and you know it's devastating, and it's for the fans, and it's even worse for the player in that sense, isn't it?
Yeah. You just you're sick of it as well, I'd imagine, as a person as well. You just want to get out there and do your job. And you get one of those injuries that just sets you back and constantly sets you back. And as a fan, you just want to see the lad play as well. It's frustrating all round.
Arthur Melo also injured, but he's looking to return in the new year, and that's been a disaster of a loan spell so far. But will he have a part to play for Liverpool this season? Well, yet to wait and see. He might even go back in January. There's been rumours about that. But yeah, with Jota, he's also expected to return a month earlier than Luis Diaz with that calf injury. So yeah, he's been trained. I don't think he's been training yet, but he's been out and he's been doing his rehab, and there's no setbacks currently there. And for Curtis Jones, who is not as far away from the first team as expected. He's also suffered an injury in that calf area, and he's out. And he's 1 week away from training, says Jurgen Klopp. So that'll be interesting there. But let's talk about, should we talk about Liverpool first, the visiting side, who have also had a massive story to play this season, runners up and on course for the quadruple for a lot of it during this season. But wow, we'll have to wait and see now how they will bounce back. Been very poor. Key players like Van Dijk and Trent Alexander-Arnold, Fabinho, heavily criticised. How do you see Liverpool bouncing back in the second half of the season? Do you see it as going to be as a resurgence, going to be a brand new, clean start? Or do you still think that there are issues and those issues won't just go away yet for Liverpool?
I think the issues in midfield haven't gone anywhere, have they? They've not signed, the next great white hope, in the midfield to fix the problem yet. So we'll see. I'm still bizarrely confident that... Yeah. I'm still bizarrely confident that Liverpool under Klopp is a different kind of beast to Liverpool of old that, I remember from my childhood as sort of the perennial, never quite there, but, they were this superpower once. Obviously that front three, whoever they pick out of the sort of the four that can go up there are, top class, would walk into most teams in the world. Salah and Nunez they need to find a way to click. Nunez being in the middle kind of pushes Salah 3 or 4 yards further right, which is not where you want him to be, really, I think, if you're a Liverpool fan. So there's still some tinkering that you need to do there. There's still some embedding in. We talked about West Ham's lack of goals and, players being brought for big money. Obviously, Darwin Núñez was brought in for even bigger money. So the pressure's on him, was, of course, to do well. And he needs to sort of, I think, hone his game a little bit. We always knew he was going to be a bit of a battering ram, a bit of a head down kind of striker, but he'll need to work in and around the Liverpool system and get the nuances, work on them a little bit more. So the problems are still going to be there for me, I think, because they were there before the World Cup, and unless they sign, a Jude Bellingham, or if they sign someone similar of a similar ilk, that midfield is still going to be light. That midfield is still going to be slightly disconnected from that incredible front three. And no matter how good your front three are, if your midfield are letting stuff go that way and not helping you get stuff that way, it's always going to be an issue in a game. So I think there's still some glaring issues. I think they're going to finish higher than they are now, but whether they're going to finish second where I predicted them to be, as every game will go on, I think it might get harder and harder to bridge that 10-point gap that they've got between them and Man City right now.
Yeah, and that's why I agree with you too. I don't think it will suddenly all change. They will have a much better string of results as they get on into the season, and they'll be able to pick up more wins. But the defensive issues too, not just in the midfield. I think the midfield definitely has a part to play in that domino effect. They're not being able to cover or protect the defense anywhere near as much. But the defense in how Jurgen Klopp wants to play in that high line, the likes of Van Dijk losing that mobility, I don't think it's going to suddenly change now, and it's probably going to be even worse given the amount of fixtures and intense fixtures that these players would have played out in Qatar as well. So it'd be even harder to try and get them back into the rhythm a little bit more. So I do think it is going to be difficult in that sense for Liverpool. But one thing they have going forward is that attack, and if they can start getting the likes of Jota and Luis Diaz back, they will outscore teams. That's what they will just aim to do. Teams that they're expected to beat, I think they'll outscore them. It will be interesting. There will be front foot, high energy attacking games, and I think it'll be interesting. Like it'll be looking like Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool before Salah. Not Salah. Before Alisson and Van Dijk came in, when that was interesting, right? Yeah. They were probably the most entertaining team to watch because they could score at any moment, but they could also concede at any moment. And I think that's the Liverpool that we're going to see in the second half of the season. Nunez, he's starting to find his feet. And I will talk about Nunez. And I thought you made a good point here, how he needs to get into the game a little bit more, refine his game. I think he's like Eddie on steroids, right? Whereas he's got a higher ceiling, because he's got that ridiculous physicality. He's the fastest player in the league as well. Clock the top speed, an aerial threat. He's a goal scorer. He's got all of that, but his technical ability around his game, where you want him to be a bit more rounded, needs to work on that. And then he's also got that intangible of that South American, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't even know how to put it into words, but that bite that they've got, and he's got that in his game. And if he can channel that well, you know, that Uruguayan one, that Luis Suarez was always teetering on the edge of. If he can get that with that quality and work those areas of his game, they've got a world-class striker.
Yeah, the housery potentials with Darwin Núñez is huge, isn't it? I think that's the thing, and I think that is that is the kind of the phrase that you want. It's that sort of quality makes it sound like he doesn't have it. It's not the quality that he doesn't have. It's getting it from there to his feet, and he needs to be a little bit quicker in and around everything. And I think that's what it will come. Obviously, he's played at a lower level in the league before, but obviously still Champions League football. But there's still that sort of the nuance, the little Premier League class that you need that I think sets the top strikers away from the also rans that come over for a lot of money.
Exactly that. So yes, before we get into our predictions, well, we haven't spoke about Villa yet, actually. Let's have a quick word on Villa. Unai Emery's coming in.
That's all right, we don't need to.
I know you're not a massive fan of Villa, me neither. But with Unai Emery being in at the job now, he's had a relatively decent start. What's the expectations for Villa this season?
Oh well, they've got to get over the Gerrard funk, because that clearly was not great, was it?
Sorry, Noemi Martinez forgot about that, so it's going to be even more difficult to keep the goals out. But carry on, bro.
Yeah, they've got to get over that Gerrard funk. It wasn't fun, was it, for those players before the sacking of Gerrard? They clearly weren't a big fan of his. Looking at their goals, 16 goals, it's not great, is it? It's even it's a little bit of a sluggish start. They've obviously got a lot of money spent up front with Leon Bailey, Danny Ings, etc., and they are still where they are. You would think for a successful season, to answer your question, they need to grow on where they are now and finish top 10 again, which is still very much in reach. They're only 12th at the minute and only 1 point back. But with a new manager, new system, he's very pragmatic, as yourself and other Arsenal fans will talk about as well. That might work in their favour, because obviously they've not picked up many draws this season so far. They've either been a win or lost kind of team, but their goal difference is -6. It's not great. He needs to shore things up. It might be that he steadies the ship for the rest of this season and picks up some boring 1-1s and 0-0s and draws out some points out of nowhere kind of thing. And I think that will be a successful season, because I think the biggest thing he'll need to do is get that dressing room back on side, because they clearly were not. It was speaking to Villa mates that I know, they were very much Gerrard out now. This has gone on far too long, and it dragged on into this season when they wanted him gone last season. So the funk of that club between the fans, the players themselves, and the management team, that funk needs to be well and truly aired. They need to open some windows and fan some of that stuff out.
But yeah, first of all, you have friends who are Villa fans. Crazy.
Well,
never me. Oh, never. But but yeah,
it's Christmas. It's Christmas time. You have to help them out wherever you can.
True, and yeah, keep your friends close, but your enemies. I understand, but yeah, with you said something about draws in there, and you saw a reaction on my face. Most definitely, Unai Emery will get you a lot of draws. I can guarantee that. A lot of 2-2 draws as well. Guys, how many 2-2 draws? I'm going to say about 4 2-2 draws in the Premier League by the end of the season for Unai Emery. Minimum 4, because Arsenal fans, we know it. 2-0 up, 2-2. Saw that so many times, that story, that playbook, even against horrible teams like Watford. He's a manager that will get you Get the he will. And when I say get the fans on side, like he did initially get us believing. I remember when we went on that like 17 game unbeaten run.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which had a lot of draws. But yeah, he can get like the best out of your star players in a way, the players that, because it's more about getting them into positions and trying to get them to work their magic in a way. And he did that with Aubameyang. He did it with Lacazette. I think Lacazette had his best season under Unai Emery when he got Player of the Year. And I think he might end up having that effect with the likes of Leon Bailey, Danny Ings, getting them into those goal-scoring positions and letting them, their difference makers, make that impact. But defensively, it won't. I think this suits Tyrone Mings. He's a low block like man.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of blocks, you'll concede a lot of shots. You're not going to be like playing this high line all the time, maybe in some games, because he's a pragmatic manager where he will see there are occasions to do it. But yeah, you will concede a lot of shots, but then you'll also score quite a few as well whilst he's there. Very good for the short term. And I think as a cup manager as well, keep games tight. If you get a lot of draws, keep them tight. You can always try and nick one in the cup too. So yeah, Villa, they'll be maybe this season want to go on an FA Cup run, but eventually when it's all said and done, might want to have a very decent cup run at the very least for Aston Villa. And with the expectations for them, actually, they'll probably say win the league or something. This is Aston Villa fans.
Win the European Cup again.
Yeah, exactly. A few little digs, guys. I can't stand Aston Villa. But yeah, in terms of the prediction for this game, bro, I'm gonna go with a 2-1 Liverpool win. I think it will be entertaining. Is that what you went for as well?
That's what I've gone for as well.
I do think this will be a little bit more entertaining, a little bit better ebb and flow to the game, and it'll be interesting. I think Villa try and cause problems on the counter attack, and Liverpool's relentless attack and Salah chomping at the bit, trying to get a return back into Premier League football. It'll be interesting. Yeah, and T-Dog, say great minds think alike. That's the hat trick. 2-1 Liverpool. So yeah, and that's Ed's there. You got any goal scorers?
Ooh, for Liverpool, let's say Nunes gets some of that nuance. Let's say he gets one, and Salah as well.
Yeah, definitely Salah. Got Moss. I know you like a tipple. So yeah, make sure you put it on Salah. I think he's going to do it this weekend. But yeah, let's. Anything else that you wanted to add on to that game or anything, Ed?
No. I think we covered that quite well. To be honest, I think it'd be interesting. I think Villa fans are ready for the season to start now. Speaking to the ones I did at work,
yeah,
they're ready. They're ready now to kick on, and that like I talked about, that funk of the Gerrard, the way it ended has well and truly been aired now. So it'd be really interesting to see how he goes with the new manager. Because the Unai Emery years were the years when Jacob was little, and I missed a lot of football at that point. So I only ever picked it up through osmosis, through you whinging about him. So I never quite got it. I missed a couple of seasons, and I was like, "Oh, you're doing all right," and you're like, "No, we're not. It's all draws. It's all draws. Don't fall for it. It's all draws." So
right, and that's Golfer there, right behind him, on that left side, sat there watching it on my iPad. Oh man, it was horrid. The only game that I loved was that Tottenham one, and I was watching that at yours too. Went for food, so topped it. That was amazing.
Good day.
It was a great day. But let's see what you guys and girls are saying in the chat, and let us know your predictions if you're watching afterwards too. You've got plenty of time to get your predictions in, as the games are on Monday, and it's Thursday night here so far. As we've got the Christmas weekend coming up, and if you are watching this, trying to take a bit of time out, as I said in the community posts and in the Discord, if you want to take some time out, not stressing about the batteries you're trying to get for Santa's toy, or that is the turkey fitting in the oven, is and the specific one for me, does the crown from the Christmas
cracker
fit your head?
This big old head, yeah.
Make sure you do like and subscribe as well, people, so we can get more people around this time of year as well. We're trying to get to 600. That'll be amazing if we can get there. You know what? A mad target. Can we get there before the new year? Well, we'll have to work hard here, people. We'll have to get a few bits of
content. A lot of sharing,
but a lot of support from you guys already, and it's great to have you back here. Mr. 200 says Villa will have a good evening. 2-1 Aston Villa. Wow, that would be interesting for sure. And definitely agree with this comment here about Coutinho. Just not hungry enough anymore. How many times, bro, you've watched football longer than me. How many times have you seen footballers in periods where they're like, the best thing since sliced bread? And you kind of think that this is going to last a while. But then that hunger suddenly drops. Can you think of any players that come to mind?
On the spot, not really, no. But it tends to be the same as Coutinho. The big money move that you think is going to be the be all and end all of everything, and when it turns out it's not, then there are some players that the hunger's there, but only when the things are going their way.
Yeah, I mean, there's one out in Turkey right now, just been substituted with 30 minutes into a cup game.
Dele Alli.
Yeah.
Dele Alli's a good one, because it tends to be these people also that burst onto the scene as well, a bit like Dele Alli did, a bit like Philippe Coutinho did. Where you got out of nowhere, you kind of get thrust into this limelight, and maybe just think it also tends to genuinely be flair players. Sometimes when a flair player can't be the player that they were, that they find it very. Not many players can do, the kind of things that Paul and some of those people did, where they adapted their game to change the times as well. We saw it with Michael Owen, that injury in 2006, when as soon as he lost his legs, we lost, the Ballon d'Or winner, probably one of the best strikers in the world at that point, and all of a sudden, one injury. A move to Real Madrid that he didn't want. They didn't want him really. And all of a sudden he's then a bench warmer, and going to be, Alan Shearer's golf partner. That's what can happen with players like that. So it is always interesting. And I think for Coutinho, I think Will's spot on there.
Exactly that. Totally agree. Moss says the Gerrard derby, so maybe 1-1 in this game. A draw, he's saying right there. Big up yourself, Rich, as well. Go subscribe over to Eagle Eye Football too. We'll get on to Crystal Palace, so we haven't spoke about them yet, Rich. So definitely. And a massive shout out to Ed, who won the losers prize in the EEF World Cup sweepstakes. Money will be going towards a food bank. Big up Ed for that, man. Yeah, man. Representing Sweet Talks, he's donated his winnings, his earnings for having Qatar. He's moaning about. Then he won losers prize.
I didn't know there was a losers prize.
Exactly.
So the whinging was real.
So big up yourself, Rich, and big up yourself on you guys over at Eagle Eye Football as well. Birmingham over Villa.
I don't want either, mate. I don't want either, Moss.
I mean, do you know what? It's difficult because I would definitely say yes, but when I think of Birmingham, Carling Cup final, so for that reason, it's a difficult question. I'm on the fence here. Can I plead the fifth, Moss?
Yeah,
can I?
I just need.
But exactly that. Salah for Liverpool, Danny Ings with 2. What was that? Danny Ings with 2? I think he went 2-1.
Yeah, I thought he went 2-1one.
He might have meant 2-1.
He might have flipped with his dad. Maybe his dad's been speaking to him.
Maybe.
Mr. 200 and Master 200.
Exactly that. Exactly. And Manchester Mania in here as well. Hope you're keeping good. Says, finally, the Prem is back. Make it count, Gunners. Win the damn thing, he says. Hey. I hope so. I hope so indeed. Keep saying it, Mania. Keep saying it. Let's see what else have we got in here. Do West Brom. I'll choose that. Ed will now probably leave the stream.
No. I'll choose West Brom over Villa or Blues too. So.
Oh yeah, there you go. Because of Papa Marshall. That's why.
Exactly.
But Leeds versus Manchester City. There's the segue right into that. There, a Yorkshire versus Lancashire derby. You know how it always gets between those sets of fans. But this should be a good one. But Ed, hit us with the records and stats going into this one here as I take a quick toilet break.
Yeah, no worries. So Leeds versus Man City, you can see there the last 5 meetings ticking along the bottom there. I think some of those span back to before Leeds been in the Premier League, so take those with the usual pinch of salt. But This time, the last time they played against each other in December, it was a 7-0 Man City win. So this time last year, Man City went run out 7 goals. The last 5 meetings have been 3 losses for Leeds, just the 1 win and the 1 draw. And the form, Moss is all over, keeping us up to date with the League Cup right now. So they are currently drawing with Liverpool, but they are on the back of the last game they played was a loss. However, they won the 4 before that. And if we look at Leeds' form is the form of a team that you'd expect to be where they are, which is 15th. So yeah, with that form there of 3 losses and 2 wins in the last 5 games. Now, and if we talk about this game, as T was mentioning, we do have the for those that aren't from this country, there's a very strange rivalry between Lancashire and Yorkshire that is normally epitomised between Leeds and Man United. But obviously with Man United not quite being the power once were, it may be shifting now towards Man City. T will have all of the injury news. But if we do quickly look at, I'll tell you the teams that, Man City have put out tonight. We do have a lot of the starters. De Bruyne, Ake, Laporte, Akanji, Gundogan, Mahrez, Haaland, all playing. All the other players that were in and around World Cup squads or playing in the World Cup are all on the bench. So I can't imagine there's any huge injury issues for Man City that we weren't, aware of prior to it. Haaland, of course, getting an all-important rest over the Christmas period. Maybe, guys, that's something that you think about with your FPL. A lot of people that were worried about him being potentially technically injury prone with his hamstrings in particular. And maybe this will be the perfect storm for him this season to come in and to get that sort of 5-6 weeks break might be perfect for his body to get that rest as well. So Haaland has hit the ground running and scored again. T, I'm just padding while you find the injuries for us. But I went through Man City's lineup tonight. And, everyone who's anyone tends to be either starting or on the bench. So I can't imagine there's huge injury news for Man City. And Paxton, as always, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the only news is they don't even have any injuries. It's just about Julian Alvarez. What a player. Late
what a backup striker he is, by the way. Worried about Eddie and all the other people that may or may not do. You've got this lad, basically, this child winning the World Cup.
Exactly, and Wilf, I saw you say about Jesus as a unicorn of a striker. Well, lightning strikes twice because they literally. That is a great sale. You get rid of Jesus, you get rid of Julian Alvarez who's probably even more relentless in his press, in his energy, and I think he's probably more of a goal scorer than Jesus too, in that sense. What a baller! It's a joke the talent that they just managed to find in. And I remember Man United, they were really interested in him, but someone on the board said no. Whoever said that deserves to get sacked. So, yeah, Manchester City, not many players being out. And do you know what? They had, I think, a brilliant World Cup from their point of view. A lot of their big players got out early. The favourites, because a lot of their big players were playing in, for teams that they're favourites. England, the likes of Stones, Walker, got out in the quarterfinals. Brazil out in the quarterfinals, so that Edison comes back, and those likes there. And then Spain players, Rodri coming back, etc. Oh man, they had it well. They did have it well in that sense. But for Leeds, in fact, and for Leeds, their USA's captain Tyler Adams, who does play for Leeds. He was well, but guess what? He's not going to be able to play because he got sent off in his last game, and that was against Spurs. Yeah, I remember that now. So yeah, he's suspended for this one, and his injury list, my word, it is heavy. So no Stuart Dallas, no Ilham Meslier by the looks of it either, but he's got a late fitness test as he's been suffering with, the virus, the illness that we've all been having. Jack Harrison, also a doubt going into this one. Matthias Klick, the same illness as Ilham Meslier. Liam Cooper with an injury. Rodrigo with an injury to his thigh. Crescencio Somerville, who's been excellent prior to the World Cup. He's also a doubt with an ankle injury. Patrick Bamford, another injury for him as well. And Luis Sinistera, who's not expected to return until the new year. So that injury list has, 11 players on there? Ridiculous. I think that might edge. You know what? Yeah, if you wanted to say a narrative, there could have been a narrative, and there still might be. You know how football is, where you'd say, "Oh, Leeds could definitely grab something from Manchester City," but just having a look at that injury list and those players that will be available, edges a lot towards Man City in this one. But man, it's not been all rosy for Manchester City, Ed, and this is what I want to ask you now because they're at points before the World Cup scintillating, look like they could score at will. Haaland. He's going to break that record, isn't he, in the Premier League? We know that. But then there was also games where Haaland was either injured or they weren't able to provide him with the service, where it didn't look like it was all going well. And that Brentford game sticks to mind. We was watching that together, wasn't we?
Yeah.
It felt like years ago. But yeah, it's not all plain sailing for Manchester City so far this season, but do you expect them to pick up now and go on their relentless run, or do you think it might be different?
Well, I think we will see it. We will have to see it in the next 2 or 3 weeks, won't we? Because I think we are still at the business end of the Premier League season. I know it's weird that we're coming back after this break, but the games do come thick and fast at this point. And, you know, a couple of not sneaky wins, because that means makes it sound like Arsenal aren't where they should be, but they're there for a reason. You know, but if Arsenal could grind out some wins without Jesus, and we have some more of those sticky moments, some draws maybe, or some poor performances from Man City, all of a sudden, 7 or 8 points is a much, much more difficult place to come back from. And sometimes the points there is the psychological edge that both teams that are in the race need. It's enough to get that 5% out of, the teams that are ahead, and it's enough to take 5% off the teams that are chasing. So I think it's going to be really interesting. The only thing for me is this Man City team do have, the star power is incredible. And I don't see there being a slip up. I think I'll go early with my prediction on it, that I think it's going to be a comfortable 4-1 win for Man City. And I think they're going to come out and try and stamp their authority as soon as they possibly can.
What about Leeds as well, who have had a topsy-turvy first half of the season? One moment, Jesse Marks looks like he's getting a sack. Then they go away to Liverpool and put in a tremendous performance. Do you think Leeds will continue that up and down Jekyll and Hyde type season that they've having so far?
It'll be interesting, I guess, to see what this mid-season break is going to do for teams like Leeds, where they were in a bit of turmoil. There was do we get rid? Do we stick? Do we twist? It'd be interesting to see, because, forgive me, I don't imagine Leeds had too many players that went to the World Cup. So therefore, they would have had a lot of time to sort of crack on and get stuck in, and to get to know each other a bit better, and to get to know the manager and what he's expecting even more. So I think this could have been a good move maybe for Leeds. But it's the reason I'm saying that prediction is more to do with the injury list that you went through. I think Leeds will be fine. I think Jesse Marsh will probably see the end of the season and they'll reevaluate. I think they only might pull the trigger if that 3-point gap between them and the relegation zone becomes more apparent as the season cracks on. But I think they'll be fine for this season. My prediction maybe is more based around the fact that injury list of both respective sides is, the disparities there to see, isn't it? One's got one player that's not available because he won the World Cup, and the other team's lost 11 players, most of whom were in and around the first team squad.
Yeah, there you go, right there. Interesting. And you know what? I agree with most of those points, and it's really hard to add anything on there. So we'll go straight into the predictions, and I will say Leeds, Manchester City. I'm going to go with, it's 2-2, by the way, and big up Moss for bringing the updates into here. It looks like they're having a great game over there where we're missing. But yeah, Moss is providing the updates for us. So I'm going to say, once again, because it's the first game back in the Premier League away, the Leeds fans are ridiculous.
True. That is something I didn't factor in. Good point.
I do think that they will make it as difficult as possible. So I'm going to go Leeds, and also, Erling Haaland going back to his hometown where he was born. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Man City win. I'm edging it there. I do think it'll be closer. And there is a world where it could happen, where the Leeds could nick a draw or win, maybe. But I'm hoping 2-1 Man City. I know I want to be wrong. Can someone else in the chat go for it and be brave and put their cojones on the line and back Leeds, so that Arsenal can extend their lead at the top of the table, please? But let's see. Get your predictions in the chat, guys, as we go through what you are saying here. So, Moss went for the same scoreline as me. I was relying on you, Moss. I was. But yeah, Pax goes for a 4-1 Manchester City.
Same as me.
Win. Yeah, so there you go. Pax on Ed's side, Moss on my side. But I'm sure he's definitely hoping for Leeds to do something as well. Mr. 200, this is what I like to see. This is what I like to see. This is why you're the man. It says Leeds for this one. Kick Tereak out late and taking breaks. We deserve better. Fair enough. Pax, next time, I've got a big bottle here. I may as well. You can't see it. You can't see it. I might as well next time.
Just make sure you mute. We don't want that. Headphone users wouldn't thank you for that.
Headphone users like Ed here. It won't be great. Listen, probably make you want to go to the toilet. Tough one to call this. I think there's going to be goals galore. 3-2 Manchester City. Is that the Leeds game or is that the Liverpool one? Because if it's the Liverpool one, you're on track for that as well. But yeah, could be so. And Ed, I need to cough as well. But yeah. Ted Lasso and his boys are good, man. Yep. Somerville, Adams, and Aronson, Rodrigo, some good quality players. But T-Dog there has gone for a Manchester City 3-0. Sorry about that.
So
we said Leeds, and then
that's what I was going to say. He said Leeds, went for 4-1, which is the same as me in Paxton. So yeah.
No, you're not the man, indeed, anymore, Mr. 200. Let's have a look in here. Big up the man, Chekushana. Big up Santi. No, sorry, that's a different person in the place. Saying SMH, we are desperate for a striker too. Yeah, you are. You definitely are. Many teams are. Chelsea are too. Wolves looks like they've got theirs sorted. I'm sure we'll get into them.
We'll talk about
it. Soon, people. Don't worry. Pax says our board are clueless. I've been saying it for that longest time. Hopefully, we get someone good in soon. Yeah, it'd be interesting on that. Man United are definitely a topic that you can talk. Always have been and always will be a topic you can talk about for a whole day. With that situation there. Let's have a look. Anything else? 3-0 City, says Rich. Yeah, everyone's gone for a City win in here. Big up my brother King in the place as well. Saying big up Tereak and Ed. Missed y'all content so much. Big up my brother, man. I hope you're all keeping good. Hope you're safe. And yeah, man, I've missed you. I've missed having the Arsenal show with yourself, with Wilf. We're having Moss on there as well from odd time. We're going to have one for the holidays. We're going to have a great one. And yeah, whilst we're on holidays as well, maybe we might have something cooking. Maybe, you know what I mean, Ed? Oh, wink, wink, smiley face. Ed knows what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say it out yet, not put pressure on it. But yeah, maybe we'll have something special for you coming here as well. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Make sure your notifications are on. And Manchester Kushner says it definitely feels weird to jump into club football so quickly after the World Cup. I agree. I understand why people are starting to feel that way. I love it though, because I hate that gap.
Too.
I hate it in the summer, but yeah, I guess it's when Arsenal sitting on top of the league. But the fact that Ed feels like that and his team are sitting where are you sitting?
The opposite end of the league.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm so cruel. I'm laughing. You know what I mean? I shouldn't be. But yeah, I totally get you. I totally understand that feeling as well. So yes, let's see. So yeah, we'll move on into we talk about Manchester. We'll talk about Manchester United, which play on the day after Boxing Day. This isn't the Boxing Day games, but Yeah, it's a part of that, we'll say. And they are at home to Nottingham Forest, who will certainly want to be improving their form in the second half of the season. And they did towards the end, I would say, before the World Cup. But Ed, talk us through the last Manchester United versus Forest games and record and form going into this one.
Yeah, well, with the Forest stuff, like we talked about before the World Cup, obviously take the last 5 meetings out. The last time they met, Tereak was 1, and Man United won 8-1. And it was one of those crazy games in that season where I think Man United ran riot with all 4 of those strikers scoring. So yeah, take that, those last 5 games with a pinch of salt. And if we do look at Forest here, their form definitely picked up in the last 5 games with 3 draw and Man United, of course. They also did win last night, so either way, they would still have 4 wins and just the 1 loss in the last 5 games before the World Cup and now just after the World Cup.
There you go, right there. And in terms of the injury news for Manchester United, it's quite good on their front with the only, the only real concern in terms of injury is Diogo Dalot. He picked up a hamstring injury in the World Cup for them too. Harry Maguire missed yesterday's game against Burnley due to illness. So the comments that were said is Harry is sick. Do not know how long it will develop. We have to wait and see if he'll be available for the Nottingham Forest game on Tuesday. Another one of those illnesses that plagued the England camp, the France camp, and everywhere across this country, which we spoke about as well once again. And yeah, so we won't likely see Rafael Varane or Lisandro Martinez yet for this game. The Forest game might come too soon, but maybe the next Premier League game after that for both of them. And another interesting one, and this is what I'm saying about talk about Manchester United for days. There is an unspecified reason for why Jadon Sancho is not even with the squad. He's got his own individual training program. And yeah, there was a lot of talk surrounding Jadon Sancho because he blacked out his Instagram. He took all his United posts and he only left the ones that I saw, like Borussia Dortmund in the tagged ones and stuff as well. So yeah, there's a weird, there's still weird stuff happening. And of course, we spoke about, the first time with Ronaldo not being in there too. But yeah, it's weird for Manchester United because overall things have gone well this season, and Erik ten Hag seems to have the trust of the whole of the fan base, which is good, which is good in terms of their progression and development, and they've had their sticky period, and I'm sure there will definitely be more sticky periods to come as well, as it's still early on into his reign at Manchester United, and with the takeover and what's going to happen there, it'll be interesting. But then there's still some questions around certain players, like Manchukushina says here, Sancho is out indefinitely due to causes unknown. He was asked about it yesterday, and he said, is there any update on Sancho? No. Sancho mentality not there. Mentally not there. Oh yeah, sorry. Well, yeah, mentally not there currently right at the moment, but is there more to it than meets the eye that we don't know about, that he's trying to keep under wraps potentially? Because for me, Ed, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, to send someone out and not train with the squad seems like a Aubameyang, Ozil issue.
Yeah, I've never heard of anyone going on their own individual training plan and it not be to do with the fact that they're sort of the black sheep in the squad right now. Yeah. Obviously they all have their own individual plans anyway. So the fact that he's there sort of training on his own, maybe he's been sent out with the kids or, whatever else.
He's in Dubai.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So he's chilling. He's chilling in Dubai. So yeah, it's nothing good comes from that sentence, does it? When your player is nowhere near your squad, he's nowhere near his teammates, he's working individually at home, it tends to mean a mentality thing, as Paxton's put there as well. So, but we had these concerns. I saw that. We had these concerns with Sancho when he was, an even younger kid, right? His mentality was always a concern. When he went to Manchester City, the big part of that was the fact that he wanted to go somewhere away from his boys in London, wasn't it? And, sort of where he could take it a little bit more seriously. Then he did, he went over to Germany and got even further away. So we definitely know that the, home life, party life, or whatever it is, could be an issue for Sancho. So it'd be really interesting, I guess, to see what happens with it. Because obviously he left Man City, took the plunge and went to Dortmund, ripped it up over there, and has come back and very much hit and very much more miss since he came back. And I think Moss has just told us it's 3-2 now to City.
Yeah, Nathan Ake with the goal right there. So yeah, it's a weird situation, but where I'll give Man United credit is I think we have seen a development of the few players currently that are there. I think Rashford, he's someone that's getting back onto his development rate, and I was kind of having I was talking about this on Twitter with Rashford because I think he's where he's stumbled and where he's stagnated in his development and received a lot of criticism is lack of coaching at Manchester United, and a lack of a coach, an elite level coach who's going to know exactly what he wants out of Rashford and how to get him into these positions on a more consistent basis, and how to, get the best out of him and utilize his best talents and try and make him get patterns of play which will make him make the right decisions a lot of the time, because that's how football is nowadays with a lot of the systems. And he's not someone who has that natural he doesn't have that natural ability to be making those right decisions when to make that pass, but he certainly has ability, athleticism, aerial ability, shooting, and the pace, of course, as well, adding into it. Yeah, he definitely has that, and a right manager can hone that out of him. I see him a little bit like a Sterling in my eyes, and Marcus Rashford. With the right manager, with the right structure in and around him, he can flourish and he can be a star for Man United and England. But yeah, Manchester United, Forest as well. What's your thoughts on Forest, bro? Very slow start. Of course, a lot of it was mentioned to do with all those signings, setting into the squad. It was always going to be difficult. But do you think I'm positive? I'm feeling positive about them. I think they might be able to go pick up a run, of form, and try and push for survival.
Yeah, I think all of those signings will have only been able to have got better working with each other over the last 4 or 5 weeks. That will help. Jokes aside, signing 26 players, it's not going to be easy to pick up any points in that situation. Any workplace, if you have an overhaul of your workforce and you bring in whatever that is, 100% more players or 100% more workers and colleagues than you had the year before, it is going to take some kind of bedding in period. So the fact that they finished the first half of the season on 13 points and 18th, and not, one win away from sitting in 14th and looking kind of pretty compared to where they could have been, I think it's huge. I think will Henderson be able to play in this game? Or
no, he won't be, because ineligible due to loan. So it'll be Hennessy in goal for this one.
So think about that.
So yeah, hey, you should know Hennessy, being a former.
I do. That's why I said think about it. Because I think we saw at the World Cup. I think he's capable of incredible saves, and he's more than capable of kicking someone in the head.
Exactly. Well, what would you say your expectations are for Man United this season?
They need to keep doing what they're doing, which I know sounds like a bit of a nothing answer, but they need to keep improving. They need to keep backing Ten Hag. He's dealt with Ronaldo. He dealt with that relatively well. I don't think he could have dealt with it any better. They're sitting at 200, at zero. They've got 20 goals scored, 20 goals against. That is perfectly where Man United are right now, isn't it? They're at ground zero now. I feel like they've stopped going down, but I don't feel like they're going up just yet. So I think it's all about, for them now, that gradual growth and the slow burn that it's going to have to be to turn what was quite a toxic and awful environment into something more like what we expect of United.
Yeah, I hear that. And it's a slow process for United. So we'll wait and see for that there. And Forest, it goes that saying, staying in the league, that's the main part for them. But in terms of predictions, did you go first or did I go first last time? I think you went first. So I think it's my turn to go first.
Yeah, I think
now.
So.
For this one, let's say Man United, instantly I think goals, but Man United, their issue is scoring goals without a striker, and that's what they need to be looking at. I'm gonna go with a 2-0 win. Rich, your scoreline caught my eye. Basic as well, sitting on the fence. That's what I'm doing, man. So I'm gonna play it safe with a 2-0 Manchester United win. What about you, bro?
Yeah, I went for a 1-0, similar to what you were talking about. I think we've got the rustiness of coming back. Expect that for all the things that we talk about. Man United not scoring that many goals. Forest without, they're probably their standout player of the year so far in Henderson in goal. I think there's just going to be a little bit too much for Forest to deal with, and I don't trust their defence still. But I'm only going to go with a 1-0 because I think it's going to be a bit of a bitty game.
Yeah, I hear that right there. Pax says 3-0 Manchester United up against Forest, and we'll add into that laugh at those who are less fortunate than us. I know it's not great, especially at this time of the year, to do so as well. So yeah, Manchester United 2-0 says Mr. Sorry, me and Ed both coughed at the same time. Manchester United 2-0 right there. 3-1 Manchester United. Painful as it is, not gonna lie, they are on the rise, and you know what? That Ronaldo decision could be like their Aubameyang one, the one that we made for Aubameyang and Ozil in that sense too. So yeah, maybe it is maybe 2-1 Manchester United, but fancy Henderson shutting them down. Unfortunately, he won't be able to play as he's ineligible due to him being on loan in there. So let's have a look. Now telling you that if that changes your scoreline, Moss, let us know. Indeed. 7-0. Dean Henderson and Lingard need to hold that L. Hey, when I saw Jesse Lingard, say that Messi's the GOAT, bearing in mind Jesse Lingard is a Manchester United fan, grown up throughout the academy and played with Cristiano Ronaldo, says a lot about it. He wasn't his biggest fan, shall I say. But I just want to say a big up to the family over here in Super Nick and CM. The Super Nick saying, wishing you all, not just myself, but you guys as well, a wonderful Christmas and more success in 2023. Big up yourself there, Super Nick. Right back at you, and I hope that you have a wonderful year and a wonderful Christmas as well with the family. And big up my brother CM saying TED Talks are back. You know how it is. Big up my brother right there, and I hope you're keeping well. Smash that like button as we move on into the next fixture, and let's make this Brentford versus Tottenham. Yeah, so Brentford versus Spurs. This is the first game of the weekend. I think it will be an interesting one. But Ed, hit us with the records and stats going into this one here.
Yeah, so obviously with Brentford, only really played them most recently in cups, but Brentford doesn't have a great record against Spurs in history here, but with 45 meetings, I think they've only won 6, but obviously a lot of that predates the wars. 3 losses for Brentford in the last 5 games and 2 draws. And if we have a quick look at the form for both teams, Brentford's form, a bit up and down, of course. We'll probably touch on Ivan Toney and what all of these betting scandals and all that kind of other stuff means for them. But on the back of sort of an indifferent form, 2 losses, 2 draws, and a win. And for T's belovedly has on the back of 3 wins and 2 losses.
There you go, right there. And on the injury front for Brentford and suspensions, Tony, in regards to that, he's been charged, but he's not been given a suspension as of yet. So whatever it will be, I'm sure it'll be a hefty one when it does land. If he is, of course, guilty of it, of the offences that they're charging him for. So Christopher Ajer, he's out. He's been out with a knee injury. But with all these injuries, they're all saying that they should return for this game, which is Christopher Ajer, Shandon Baptiste, Pontus Janssen, Thomas Strakosha, and Aaron Hickey. So all of those are a part of the defence apart from Shandon Baptiste. So it will be interesting to see if they will be back and ready and in solidifying that Brentford defence, who had a very good result going into the World Cup. For Tottenham Hotspur, of course, Richarlison picked up a thigh injury for Brazil, and he's having, and they said on the 20th of December, tomorrow, he's having an MRI scan to know very well the importance of the injury. After tomorrow, we'll see if how long he may need to recover. So we most likely won't see him until the new year, depending on how serious it is. It could possibly be longer. And that could be a big loss for Spurs in that sense. So Rodrigo Bentancur is also injured and he won't be available for this game by the looks of it. But yeah, maybe he might be rushed into it because they can see the status is 75%. Not sure how accurate that is. But yeah, he also picked up an injury in the groin area. And adding to the illness list is Oliver Skipp and Jed Spence as well. Ed, Brentford and Spurs, both strikers who are English, in the mud right now. If we're going to be honest with Ivan Toney, with that betting scandal with how much, 200 plus, and then another 30 or something like that added on.
It's an awful lot, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's going to be a massive, massive ban on that there. And I want to hear your thoughts on that and how you think it will affect Brentford. And then, of course, Harry Kane too, and how you think that penalty miss. Another one, once again, you've watched England over the years. You've seen how big moments have affected players and some spurred them on and no pun intended. And also, kind of had an impact on their careers as well. Let me know your thoughts on both of those situations.
Yeah, I think the Ivan Toney one, that it's the weird thing is sort of the implications of it all, isn't it? It's all it doesn't feel great, does it? Sort of the betting scandals and all that kind of stuff. It feels a bit dirty. It feels a little bit like it's off the field stuff, but it really does affect on the field. And how important is Ivan Toney for Brentford? You could argue he's just as important as Harry Kane is to both England and Spurs. He's the talisman of that club. He's their best player by a mile. He's their goal scorer. He's their penalty taker. He's their sort of leader up front, that kind of stuff. So it's huge. It could have a really bad effect because without Ivan Toney, do Brentford score goals? Not overly convinced because of even just his link-up play as well. Harry Kane missing a penalty. I think he's got that mentality to shrug that off. I would still have picked him 100 times out of 100 to take that second penalty. Harry Kane tends to not really miss the target at the very least. So that was very much a moment where it hit him. He leant back, he got under it. It's one of those things, it happens. The best strikers in the world want to take penalties. The best strikers in the world miss sitters. The best strikers in the world miss penalties. How many's Messi missed? He's the greatest of all time. Messi's not the best at penalties. He'll grow from it. That's all he can do from, maybe if we're in that situation again, or if Spurs are in that situation again, he'll go low instead of, whatever he was trying to do there. He was trying to lift it. Maybe the fact it was Lloris he was doing it against, who knows him quite well. I don't know, but it's what happens, isn't it? That's strikers are going to miss chances. We are where we are with it, aren't we? I'm at peace with it. I was gutted at the time, genuinely very, very upset because I thought this is the best and my favourite England team of my lifetime. So to see us go out to another painful penalty miss was painful, but it hurt in a different way because it hurt because it was more what if than, oh, here we go again. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And I think with all of that in mind, I am actually still going to go for a decent result for Brentford. I'm going to go for a 1-1.
Interesting right there. And yeah, I hear you on both of those fronts. I think for Kane, this is, always questions have been around his mentality in terms of being at Spurs, staying at Spurs for so long, not winning a trophy whilst he's at Spurs, and not turning up in big finals for Spurs as well when they have made them there, or big games in cup competitions. This is it now. We've seen it with Mbappe. He missed a huge penalty in the Euros against Switzerland, and he got faced a lot of criticism off the back of that. And you saw how he reacted. Ridiculous mentality right there and temperament from Mbappe. This is it for Kane. Kane, if he can go on and have a good rest of the season and Tottenham have a decent season for their standards, whatever that may be, then I guess you can kind of put those to bed and then try and rectify those issues in the next tournament.
Yeah.
And kind of have that little bit of what Saka did, when Saka missed that penalty, although it wasn't, it was the final penalty which ended the game. It wasn't the deciding factor in that sense. But yeah, Saka picked up that ball, penalty spot, and he's taken every penalty since and not missed a single one because he's shown very good temperament and mentality in that there. For Kane, this guy is on track to have, if it wasn't for Haaland, he would be he's on track to break the scoring record in the Premier League. Bearing in mind having how many assists with that as well. That's how this guy, he's very much, it's a Spurs player and it's Kane, of course. He's disrespected in my eyes a lot for the quality that he has. I think the questions will always remain there about his mentality in the big stage until he wins a trophy.
Staying at Spurs and all that kind of stuff.
Of course, he'll always have that. Of course he will. But and if he's going to win a trophy, can he please leave Spurs? Go to Bayern Munich, he'll do it there.
He'll have to.
So it is one of them ones, but in terms of his quality, I don't think it will really affect him that much. He's faced a lot of adversity in his career. You got to remember this guy was being sent on loan to Norwich, Leyton Orient, Leicester, and he wasn't getting any game time there and still managed to break his way through. He's dealt with adversity. He's dealt with knockbacks. So how many times has the guy had an ankle injury, for goodness sakes, and he's come back and he's returned and he's probably been even better.
He's dealt with the personal jibes, the fact that he speaks the way he speaks, he looks the way he looks. These players like this, well, they have to deal with it, don't they? Have to shrug it off. And I have no doubt that he will. And the only question I have, I get staying at Spurs. I get that as when you talk about, do you stay at your boyhood club? I know he was an Arsenal fan, but obviously things all turned around when he got picked up by Spurs. But like you have that debate with your mates at five-a-side or down the pub. Do you stay somewhere like a Matt Letizia and be a club legend forever and ever, or Steve Bull using my team, or are you one of those people that wants to, do a Ronaldo and kind of dominate in different places, in different areas, and that kind of stuff? And some people have the mentality they want to stay somewhere and be an idol, a god of that club. And if he stays at Spurs, he potentially will break Shearer's record. I think that will be gone if he stays there for the rest of his career. So for me, I think it's time for him to move on, and maybe this will be the last season, because I think he's hitting an age where he'll need to make that decision and maybe go chase a trophy somewhere else. But he's an incredible striker. He's probably the best England striker, complete striker I've seen, because I think you could argue maybe Rooney had more natural talent, but I think on the pitch, what Kane offers as both sort of a talisman and a leader as well is, I think, better than Rooney, personally.
There you go, right now. And what's your prediction going into this game here?
You said 1-1.
1-1. I'm going to go with, let's go 2-1 Brentford. Come on, Ivan Toney. Keep scoring until that ban hits you.
Until you're not allowed, keep going.
It's until you probably have to retire based off of how long that ban may be. Come on, Ivan Toney, let's do it. And hey, we've got to keep doing it until he can't no more packs. Keep doing it until we can't no more. But yeah, let's do it. Do you think he'll play actually, Ivan Toney?
Ivan Toney's the kind of bloke who loves all this stuff, though, doesn't he? So if he's gonna go out, he's gonna go out swinging, right?
Yeah, exactly that there. So yeah, let's. I'm gonna say Ivan Toney, to do it, to do it again, and Ivan Toney with a brace here, even if he's retired. Exactly that. Agree with the birthday boy packs. 2-2 right there. Brentford 2-1. That's what I'm going for as well, Mr. 200. Indeed. So yes, definitely agree with you right there. Let's go. What else have we got in here in terms of predictions? 2-1 Spurs. 2-1 Spurs from CM as well. 2-1 from Rich. And yeah, I saw you comment. I'm trying to find it now about Richarlison. I'm convinced Richarlison just doesn't want to play for Spurs. Yeah, because he had those games out. And Romero too. Remember Romero was like, I'm not playing into the World Cup and that. Madness. He's definitely going to be coming back early.
It's Antonio Conte. The man is Marmite, isn't he? I think you're either going to be one of those players that loves or one of those players that wishes he'd do one.
Exactly that. Glad he's not my manager. Staying to be what a one club hero and winning nothing is pointless. I agree with that. Yeah, because even if you win elsewhere like Shearer did, I guess it's fine because he's always got that Premier League now, hasn't he?
Well, Shearer did it the right way, didn't he?
Yeah.
He went off and won stuff, became England captain, and then went, I'll go home now. I've done it. So whatever I do now, I'll go home and break, the record up in Newcastle. He kind of did it the right way. If you're going to do it one way, it's probably best to finish off your career after you've won stuff to then say, well, I've got the winners' medal. I've got the 50-odd England caps and 30-odd goals. Let's just go now and boss it for my home city club.
It's true. But what I would say is, though, being the on the other side, being a one club hero and winning, let's even one trophy is greater than being at Man City for Jack Grealish, for example, and winning a Premier League, a Champions League, and stuff like that there. Because the impact is obviously greater, and you got that legendary status, a la Steven Gerrard. In that sense, let's have a look as well. So yes, guys, we're going to fly through a few more of these games, but the last one of the big six in this one is Chelsea versus Bournemouth, and yeah, this one's interesting. With Chelsea and Bournemouth, I'd say as well. Who Chelsea very much underperformed this season. Bournemouth very much overperforming as of late. But Ed, hit us with the records and stats with this one here.
Yeah, so these guys have only played each other 17 times before this one. Chelsea versus Bournemouth, the last 5 games have been 2 wins for both clubs and 1 draw. So you couldn't really, predict it any closer, to be honest. And if we look at their form, we've got Bournemouth's form. I think that should also now include a loss last night, 2 nights ago, because they lost to Newcastle in the League Cup. So that would be 4 losses and 1 win in the last 5 games. And to give them their full title, Graham Potter's Chelsea, on the back of 4 losses and 1 win in the last 5 games, they were desperate for the World Cup break, I would argue.
Exactly that, right there. Let's have a look in terms of the injury fronts. And it's not great for Chelsea once again because Wesley Fofana picked up another knee injury. No return date as of yet. There's been rumours that it's not too long. And once again, this is why when you... Ed, once I'm linking it back to Pedro Neto because you've got someone now. When you pick up a serious injury, you have to wait. You can't rush into buy because of what they did before that injury.
Yeah.
When you pick up a serious injury like that, you need to see how the player is and how he develops and how his body is after that state. It's not looking good for Wesley Fofana, and he's picked up another knee injury. And once you pick up those injuries, guys,
the pressure to come back with the money that they've spent on you as well is monumental, isn't it?
He's relentless, and the pressure will be too much for his body in that sense too. And another serious knee injury, and one that we're definitely not going to see, I don't think, for the rest of the season, is Armando Broja, who picked up that one in it friendly in the 18th minute against Aston Villa during the the World Cup break. And it was an innocuous one as well. It was a mix-up between Olsen and Konza at the back, but they managed to get it clear in the end. But his knee got stuck in the ground. It was a horrible one. You could hear the screams because, there wasn't many in the stadium. And, it was horrible. And, speedy recovery for Armando Broja with a striker with a lot of talent and potential. On good news, though, in the topics of the injuries, Reece James should be back for this one, and he might start, he might not, depending on how Graham Potter and the fitness staff at Chelsea deem him as how fit he can be. But if he starts, he probably won't play the full game, but most of it as well. Other injury news: we got Carney Chukwuemeka, who had an hamstring injury before the World Cup. Still no real update on that there in terms of Carney Chukwuemeka. Mason Mount, who's been suffering with muscle tightness as well, so he's a slight doubt going into this one, but I'm sure with Mason Mount and how he is, and a lot of managers love him probably for this reason, he'll make himself available for this one. Ben Chilwell, who suffered an injury that took him out of the World Cup, he's expected to be back for this game here. But yeah, once again, it's quite hard to put a gauge on these return dates with club football only just coming back. Kepa Arrizabalaga picked up an injury before the World Cup, and yeah, it was quite as a serious one to his ankle, so he's not quite there yet. But and the same goes for N'Golo Kante, who we definitely won't see up until the new year at least. And they're talking about return date of February the 18th for that one there for N'Golo Kante. And for Bournemouth, for AFC Bournemouth, we haven't spoken about them. Not many, they wouldn't be in the forefront of many people's minds unless you're a Bournemouth fan during the World Cup break. But Ryan Fredericks through illness, same with Marcus Tavernier as well, and Jefferson Lerma in there. David Brooks with a thigh injury, expected to be back in the new year in January. Neto, same for him as well, with a thigh injury into the new year as well. And Lloyd Kelly could be back for this game here. So main cause for concern for Bournemouth is that flu, that illness, whatever it is that is going around. It seems to be doing a madness at the moment. But Ed, Chelsea, Graham Potter, this is, interesting. Once again, how do you think they're going to fare in the second half of the season?
Oh, well, I think it's going to make or break his Chelsea career, isn't it, this now? It all started looking quite rosy, didn't it? They picked up a few wins on the bounce when he first turned up. But, yeah, that form that we talked about, 4 losses out of the last 5 games, it's not great, is it? And currently sitting on the same points as the team that he left in the exact same position. This, I think, because with Chelsea, with what we know about Todd Bowley is, A, he's not afraid to spend some money, and B, he's not afraid to make some big calls and big decisions. So I think he's got what we've got, like 5 months. 5 months, I think, to sort of stop at Chelsea, to sort of forge his career as a top level manager and not sort of the best of the rest. It's going to be very interesting because Chelsea obviously had a lot of players that have come back from the World Cup. You've just gone through a decent amount of people injured that are in that camp as well. Sterling flattered to deceive as well on his signing as well. It's going to be really interesting to see. What we know about Potter is a training ground manager, and he would have had a lot of time to get his feet under the table, to get his tactics and training well and truly embedded during that break that we've had. And I think it will be either the making or breaking of this.
Yeah, exactly. He's been given like a 6-year contract?
Yeah.
But if push comes to shove, I'm sure Todd Bowley will pull the trigger if he feels like it. He does seem quite he's trying to implement something at Chelsea in terms of a structure, but he also does seem like he goes for what's flavour of the month at Chelsea. Yeah. So it'll be an interesting one there to see how that one develops. And I don't think the second half of the season will be as pretty for Chelsea fans. Of course, I think it's going to take a while, 2 seasons really, to see an implemented style. It will be interesting for that there. Bournemouth, in this sense, it's all about staying up for them. Gary O'Neill given the permanent job. He was doing an excellent job whilst he was interim, but now he's permanent. It's going to be interesting to see how he does manage to cope here, managing Bournemouth with the expectation and now teams setting up and looking at how they've already played and analysing them. It's going to be an interesting one for both sets. But in this game, I can see a Chelsea win for me here. I'm going to go with a 2-0 Chelsea win. Maybe get the ball rolling because they did have a good run of form under Graham Potter previously. But before they lost to Brighton, then it went downhill from there and the performances were awful. They played us as well and they were shocking in that game, and the Newcastle, which was an awful game. I was watching that before we went there, before the Wolves Arsenal game, and it wasn't as exciting as I thought it could have been. But Chelsea offered no threat in that one. What about you, bro? What's your prediction for this one?
I think I've gone for a 2-0 Chelsea win in this one. And Chelsea just have a little bit too much.
Cool. Interesting.
What did you go for? What did you?
2-0.
2-0. Same as me.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's have a look. So you guys here, what's it saying? Honestly, feel like an upset 2-1 Bournemouth at home. That would be a real upset. And the Chelsea fans, who I've already seen a lot of them saying they're missing the World Cup already, not having to think about Chelsea. So yeah, that'll be an interesting one there. What do you think about Potter at Chelsea so far, T? I know it's early, but England rumours were already circling. I don't think he's doing a great job. He's not really achieving above expectation, but I don't think he's going under it either. It's very early days in that sense. And if he's going to implement a style, he's going to need to get his own players, and he's going to need to get the players that he trusts and wants to build with now to get them rolling. But he's going to have to get rid of a lot of players too, I think. Dodged a bullet on Kante as well. Told you, T-Money, you wanted him. You might be right. I might have said this, but I can't remember. Like this Kante now with a lot of injuries. I don't know. Back in 2016, I definitely wanted Kante. I definitely wanted him then. But did I say that? I don't know. I'm not sure. Ed's face is lighting up. I mean, basically, we're gonna have to keep this going, people, because Ed's computer is gonna shut down soon.
Yeah, it's having some technical issues back here.
Yeah, some technical issues. Which says Potter will be gone at the end of the season with Enrique being available. That's a manager. I think a lot of top clubs would want Rich. It's a good shout there. Good shout, Luis Enrique. Definitely made for club football, I think. That's a very interesting call, Rich, with Enrique probably wanting to return to club football. He will be the big name out there. Now, it's true, but maybe we may see a lot more puzzles and jigsaws and pieces moved soon. Luis Enrique ball, not for me at all. If it hinders Chelsea, I'm all for it. Yeah, I think it's not made for international football, but what he did with Barcelona was excellent there. But let's move on we're going to probably have to group some of these games together. Let's talk about your mighty Wolves first here, Ed. Okay. Everton versus Wolves game, and then we'll do some group games. We're grouping them up for the rest. But yeah, Ed, hit us with the record and stats for this one here. And guys, get your predictions in.
Last 5 meetings, we've got 3 wins for Wolves and 2 wins for Everton. So there hasn't been a draw in this game for 3 or 4 seasons now, I don't think. Wolves' form, I was at the game against the mighty Gillingham on Tuesday that we won 2-0. So we are on the back of a couple of wins, 2 losses and a draw. And for Everton, back of 3 losses, a draw and a win. So this is kind of the team, couple of teams in some very, very indifferent form and very much down the wrong end of the table.
Interesting there. And for players that have been out injured previously to the World Cup for Everton, is Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Maybe we might see him return. And as well, which Rich is in here, former Crystal Palace wide man in Andros Townsend, who picked up that horrible knee injury towards the end of last season. He could return for this one here, but I'm sure they'll be very slow in taking. Yeah, they won't rush him back too quickly after a serious knee injury like that in his 30s too. As well, Mason Holgate, he's no return date for him, who also picked up a knee injury prior to the World Cup, and we definitely know is James Garner won't be fit for this one. And yeah, what was said in November the 24th is that he'll be back in the back end of January or early February due to his lower back injury right there for the young man. And Ed, I'm sure you can probably update us for Wolves in this one. Go on.
Wolves, I think Wolves is mostly the players that you will have known that we have. They're all back from the World Cup. Most of them played on Tuesday. I think the only really injury concern is Chiquinho, who's injured, but doesn't really play anyway at the moment. So Jimenez got 20 minutes. Diego Costa got 80. He looked a lot sharper and a lot quicker, but yeah, I'm still wouldn't put any bets on him scoring, and I'm hoping he proves me wrong. No major issues for Wolves in terms of our injuries. And of course, everyone, including Fabrizio, has told us that we've signed someone, Cunha, from Atletico Madrid on initial loan with the money up front, the usual Wolves way. But thankfully, someone not in the Mendes stable, not a Portuguese player. Be very interesting to see how we go with him. He's more of a workhorse striker from what I've read about him goal scoring, not necessarily banging in the goals previously, but neither was Jimenez before we got him. So it'd be really interesting to see how we get on with him. But we do desperately need strikers, an attacking threat. Even against Gillingham on Tuesday, we're a little bit toothless in places.
Yeah, exactly that. There will be interesting for that. Mateus, can you move? That we know how desperately you needed a striker, and with him being and with him being more of a modern day striker, you can drop in deep, drop in between the lines, get out wide, and be at odds. I'd say he's like a B-Tech Jesus in that sense. When I've seen him play, he had I'm sure this will probably be doing the rounds for Wolves. Was it that goal? Was he playing for? He was in Germany. Was it Hoffenheim or Leipzig?
Hoffenheim, I think.
Hoffenheim. Yeah. That goal is one of the best goals I've seen. So that's probably doing the rounds for Wolves right now. This is our striker.
It's incredible, really, that we need a striker and we've gone out and got one. And that's genuinely not something I would say that Wolves have been able to do recently. We've had very obvious holes that we've not filled. So it's good to see. And Lopetegui, he can't have come in without the promise that they were going to back him to try and keep us in the league, because no one wins if we get relegated, because there's a lot of players that will have release clauses. That means that they'll have money come off their wages. They'll probably go for a lot less than Fosun want to sell them for. So I think we pulled the trigger maybe 2 or 3 weeks too late for me personally, but we waited for Lopetegui and Lopetegui's dad basically to become stable, and then he came in, and he's coming in and he's a rock star. I am bizarrely confident just because of how he's come in and how bold and brass and strong he looks. Big fan.
And what about him as a manager, Ed, as well?
Don't care. Right now, all I've got to work on is a Gillingham game and the fact that he did a lap of honour when we lost to Arsenal. So if he's got the balls to do that, then I'm all in.
It should be an interesting one. Big season for Wolves, and I think in terms of the future as well, not just the immediate future, we're saying in the Premier League with the Fosun group as your owners as well. It'll be interesting to see if you guys can stay up the season. And for Everton quickly as well, big pressure on Frank Lampard. That Bournemouth game just before, where fans were throwing shirts back onto the pitch and stuff. The pressure is piling, and that World Cup break was probably perfect timing for Lampard to ease the pressure, in my eyes. But Ed, what's your prediction for this game?
I am backing Big Ball Lopetegui to get us a win, 1-0. 1-0. I'm going to say we sneak it.
Interesting. I think I'm fence sitting here. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, high scoring draw. But I don't know, man. Win Wolves away. It's hard. Away game, if you win away from home bottom of the league, that's special. I've seen Arsenal being like top 4 races without winning a game away from home. So let alone bottom of the table, that will be interesting right there. Let's see you guys what you guys have said in the chat for this game here. Pax has gone for a 1-1 draw with Jimenez, the mighty Jimenez scoring as he always does. Ivan Toney and Jimenez. If they're Wolves and Brentford are playing, he'll always back them.
It was a special moment to see him score on Tuesday. Exactly. It was important for me and for Jacob to see probably the best striker we've had at the clubs in a very long time, to at least get a goal, even if he's not quite the player he once was.
There you go, right there. 1-1. This one, think they'll cancel each other out, says Will for Green with Pax there. CM says, I would love to see Jimenez find form again. 1-0 Wolves for Ed. Hey, Ed's on your side now. Yeah, I mean, you are on Ed's. And
this is why people should let him speak.
Exactly. He speaks sense. Yep. Hey, exactly that there. 1-1 says Mr. 200, who is also going to bed as well. Hope you're having a good one, man. And thanks for tuning in. And thank you to each and every one of you as well. And if you're watching this later, big up to yourself as well for tuning in. 2-1 Everton. And this is where Ed is going to fall out with Rich in that sense now. But now 2-1 Everton, I could see that being at home. You probably edge it to them. And that's what Moss has gone forward to, saying 2-1, maybe 2-2. Haven't finalised yet. Jump on the 2-2.
Lot of time.
Exactly. Liverpool out of another trophy. Love to see it, says Pax. And we'll move on into grouping these games together before Ed's computer decides to call it a night. We'll talk about.
I can jump on my phone if not, so it'll be all good.
Oh, okay, then. But we got Crystal Palace versus Fulham. We've got Leicester versus Newcastle as well. And hang on, we've got one more game, so we can group three of them. Yep. So we can do Crystal Palace versus Fulham, Leicester versus Newcastle, and Southampton versus Brighton. That's a South Coast derby right there.
It is.
And we've got London derby.
Us and Fulham while we're there. So the last 5 meetings between those teams have, if you bear with me, I'll try and find it on here because I think it was one of the top ones. Last 5 meetings, unbeaten for Palace. Good for you, Rich. 3 wins and 2 draws. And if we look at their form quickly, for Palace, it is 2 wins and 3 losses. And for Fulham, they're on the back of 2 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. So, yeah, that's that game. And if we move on now to Southampton and Brighton, last 5 meetings is 3 draws in that game, a loss and a win. And their form, Southampton's form, did win again in midweek. So it's actually 3 wins and 2 losses with a win against a lower league opposition in that game. And for Brighton, with a lot of their players doing very well at the World Cup, they're on the back of 3 wins and 2 losses before the World Cup. And after the World Cup, they did lose on penalties to one of Palace's rivals in Charlton. And the last game that we're looking at is the Newcastle game, I believe, Leicester-Newcastle. Last 5 meetings, 3 wins for Newcastle. 3 wins for Leicester, and 2 wins for Newcastle. Newcastle's form, incredible. 5 wins on the bounce. You can actually make that 6 because they did win in midweek. And for Leicester, not bad themselves. They also won in midweek as well. So 4 wins and a loss.
Interesting there. And on the injury front for Crystal Palace, I'm just making sure can you guys hear me? I thought I did the mute trick again. For Crystal Palace, James McArthur and Nathan Ferguson, no return date yet. But in terms of James McArthur, it's taken a little time to get back. It's taken a little bit more time, a step back. But he went to Turkey with them, trying to get themselves ready. So maybe we might be able to see them in the new year if Patrick Vieira feels comfortable with that, and the fitness staff as well. Sam Johnson with a coccyx injury, he will return in February right there. So yeah, and for Fulham, only the key injuries that they've got right there is Mano Solomon and Neeskens Cabano. And that's it, really. And that's good because prior to the World Cup, Fulham did have a lot of injuries to their name. And then for the Leicester team, who also had a lot of injuries, but he started to ease up a little bit. James Justin, who's not going to return as he suffered a ruptured Achilles, which was sad in November. But yeah, he's not going to return until into the middle of the year, probably the end of the season, actually. So yeah, no, don't expect James Justin anytime soon. Ricardo Pereira as well, maybe looking like in the new year, within February time, he could be a big addition. But once again, since he picked up his injury, it's just been bad to worse. He picked up a significant one 2 seasons back, and it's not been good for him in terms of that. They're returning. Kaglas Yonchu, he's got a hamstring strain. He's expected to be back, but he's also very much linked with a move to Atletico Madrid. I'm not sure if it's in January or at the end of the season, though. That'll be interesting to see. But Johnny Evans and Ryan Bertrand have no return date for those either. Newcastle now. Newcastle, who did have a few injuries going into the World Cup, likes of Alexander Isak, Elliot Anderson, Emil Kraft, Matt Ritchie, and Paul Dummett. But the main one being Alexander Isak right there. Then he said, we hope to have him fit and available for Bournemouth, but it didn't look like that was going to be that way. So yeah, they're taking their time with Alexander Isak after his calf injury right there. So yeah, but they've still got the likes of St. Maximin back, who missed a lot of the games towards the end of going into the World Cup break. So that one will be interesting there to see if he can get back fit him, back to the level he was at before that injury came. And then for the final fixture, in terms of the injuries front for Southampton and Brighton. Southampton with Nathan Jones, they've got no Valentino Livramento until the new year. Excellent signing for them, and hopefully he can return back after his serious knee injury picked up at Brighton at the end of last season. Let's hope he can get back fit and be the player that he was before that as well. And the shining light is he's still early in his career, so it's not bad, but it's also not ideal, of course, in terms of his development. Romeo Lavia, he could return. He's not quite ready for the first game, I don't think, for this one, but he's back into the squad training, just about getting him match fit there. And Juan Larios and Theo Walcott, in fact, have no return date to their name. And the final one for Brighton is that we have Alexis McAllister. He's not going to return as of yet. They're looking towards the new year for him after with all the celebrations with Argentina, of course. Adam Webster, he could be back though, as well as Danny Welbeck. Apart from long-term absentee, who could return in February though, which will be coming here sooner than you know it, hopefully with Gabriel Jesus, because that's the same date he's looking to return, which is the 25th of February in the new year. So, guys, I think Ed is back. Ed, can you hear me? Are you here?
Yes, I can. Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, that's all good. That's all good. I'm glad that you're here. So, bro, in terms of your predictions, in terms of the teams, which one was the first one? Crystal Palace,
Fulham.
Both have done really well for me in their standards. Crystal Palace have had a horrible start to the season, but they're not really in any immediate danger of relegation, being relegated. There we go, right there. Gay suspended as well. You got 5 yellow cards. Big up yourself there, Rich. Thanks for that, man, there. So that could be a big one in terms of predictions for this one. But yeah, overall, I think Palace have been excellent, steady, and will look to kick on now in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Are going to be outsiders for European positions. And then Fulham, who are certainly outsiders for those European places. Both two strong teams right there. What's your prediction for the Palace-Fulham game?
Yeah, I think it's Palace at home, right, isn't it?
Yeah.
So even with that Gay injury, I think I'm going to still edge it. Although Rich backed Everton to beat my boys, I'm going to back Palace to win in this game. I think I'm going to go for goals in this one. I think I'm going to go 3-2 to Palace.
3-2 Palace, interesting there. And you know what? I do see goals in this one actually as well. You've gone 3-2 Palace. See Rich here, he's gone 2-1. Do I lean towards the Palace man? I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to say 3-1 Palace. I'm going to go for that there. Palace at home, glad all over being sung about at Selhurst Park. I expect this big second half of the season for Eze too. I think he was slow to return into his best last season after his Achilles injury, which was a long-term one, of course. And then we also had, he was slow beginning at the start of this season, but then started to pick up some form. We saw that bit of magic that he could have, and that stardust quality that he had into that side. And Elise, who didn't have a pre-season due to an ankle injury that he picked up at the end of last season. Two big players in the supporting cast for Zaha, as this looks to be Zaha's last hurrah in that sense there. So I've gone 3-1 Crystal Palace. And then for the Leicester Newcastle game, interesting, bro. Let me know your thoughts there.
Yeah, Newcastle's form, I think, really caught me off guard when I was doing the prep, because I knew they finished strong, and obviously they finished in the top four. They're top four, right? When third in, so top four. I was really surprised at their form when I was doing the stats, and then when you break it down, it's like, why was I surprised? Because if you look at the players on the pitch, the job that Eddie Howe's done, we've talked about it many times. The amount of humble pie I've had to eat over that, because I've got that dead wrong. Leicester, of course, started their wonderful upturning form when I was there for a 4-0 away win at the Molineux, where your nephew, my son, looked up at me and asked me why we were even there, which was a very good question that I was questioning myself after 3 goals in about 25 minutes. So for this one, it's going to be interesting, I guess, because neither team are backwards incoming forwards, are they? Again, this one screams goals to me as well. but I'm not overly sure exactly which one to go for. Maybe edging the home team, they picked up a win. Wilson got some minutes and came away from the World Cup unscathed. I think I'm going to go for a 3-1 to Newcastle. They're going to carry on. They're going to carry on their rise.
Interesting. Well, you know what? He did actually have an injury whilst he was during the England camp. He had a little injury that he was nursing, but it didn't seem to be too serious as he was still in the squad and on the benches and training and whatnot. But Leicester's rise. You're talking about being proven wrong. Hey, Leicester, Brendan Rodgers. I've never been his biggest fan. But the guy just keeps on pulling it out in difficult moments, in difficult spells, and proving me wrong. And he's done an excellent job. I literally remember a conversation with me and Ed. Was having lunch at work, talking about Brendan Rodgers and saying, yeah, he's going to be gone, isn't he? And if they could even afford to sack him, but now he's really turned it around. He's got them back playing to their best, scoring goals, looking defensively solid. That Voot Vice has been. Yeah, the talk of the town recently, and why Roberto Martinez didn't pick him for Belgium in that back line. But yeah, Maddison in there with the form he's been on. I think it'll be a difficult game. I'm going to go for a draw, I'm going to say a bit of a slowish start for Eddie Howe, but an away game, first game back against Leicester with some players that they do have. I don't think he'll mind a draw. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game here. And then for the final game, Southampton versus Brighton. Nathan Jones, the new manager. I'll go first for this one here, bro. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Brighton win. De Zerbi's done a good job, and I don't quite get the Nathan Jones appointment in that sense. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Rich, your comment literally just stuck out to me here. The background and the jumper matching. It's true. It does. But sorry, that threw me off track. But it's a good, well observed, Rich. But yeah, so I'm going with Nath. I don't quite understand that appointment.
It seems a bit like employing a championship manager to deal with the championship season that you may have next season. That's what it smacks off to me.
Yeah, but then I agree with that. I think if they're quite obvious in that standpoint, which they've got the second youngest squad in the league, just behind.
Yep.
Just behind who?
I'm guessing it's Arsenal.
Of course. So yeah. But yeah, I think if they are building like that and they are trying to, they've signed a lot of young players, Romeo Lavia, that Sekou Mara, like 19, 20 years of age, then yeah, it's a good way to go. But if you're trying to survive and you might end up sacking him at the end of the season, not a great appointment. So I don't think they're going to have a good second half of the season. But yeah, Brighton, De Zerbi, I think he'll try and kick on from there. They need to sign a striker, though. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I mean, selfishly, I need Brighton to do me a favour. So, Rich, cover your ears. I'm sorry that you're going to hear me say that. To keep Southampton down there with my lot. But I do think that that Brighton do have too much for them. Genuine question: Aribo, I don't think he looks very good. I think he looks like he's going to fall over every time he gets the ball. He seems very stiff. Like, am I wrong, or am I just, or is that just his playing style? He doesn't seem very fluid as a footballer, and I haven't quite got the hype that he came with. Obviously, doing what you can do in Scotland, is you can take it sometimes with the players up there maybe can dominate, and down in England they're potentially championship teams. He just seems very stiff. I don't quite know what his skill set is, and he seems like a big money signing in a position that they didn't overly need to fill in. And he's come in and he just doesn't look very good to me. I don't quite get it. I don't quite get it.
Yeah, well, Rich says it here. Aribo is good, Ed. He's just in a bad side at the moment.
Okay, that might be true.
Yeah, because when I've seen Aribo, I think he scored in the final of the Europa League, the one that Rangers did lose. And I think he had a really good run as well. I think he just might be he doesn't. Basically, his build as well, because he's quite tall, lanky,
he's tall,
slender. And he wears the low socks and not really having any calves and that. Yeah, so he kind of looks a bit awkward in that sense.
Yeah.
But he does get. I remember watching him in AFCON for Nigeria. He looked like their best player in midfield, driving through. He's more of a progressive. He's an unconventional midfielder, I'd say. He's not someone who's get it, move it side to side, or try and.
Yeah.
He's more of a dribbler. That's why he's played out wide at points as well, out on the left for Rangers, because he's definitely someone he likes to dribble and attack at a 1v1 in that sense. But yeah, his decision making's not quite there at the top level for me. I've seen him when it's time to make that final pass or have that final shot. It's not always at the level it should be, but yeah, he's a decent player. And do you know what? He's one I could see, not just because he's black, but I could see him at Palace. Yeah, in that sense.
I just think I think it's just because I've not seen him play very much. I didn't really watch much of Rangers, and then I also didn't know he was a Nigerian international, so that I'd never seen him play for them either. So it just when you see some teams like Southampton, like for me, I don't watch much Southampton at all. You just see glimpses of match of the day highlights or highlights on YouTube and stuff. It just, that's a genuine question because I knew you would have seen him a bit more than me. But in terms of this game, I think I'm going to go with where I think the majority of the chat have gone. I am going to go with the Brighton win. I think I'm going to go with a comfortable 2-0 Brighton win.
2-0 Brighton. Yeah. I've gone 2-1. Let's see what you guys are saying in this sense of the predictions. You guys have got them in. Thank you guys for sticking us 2 hours and 10 minutes. I told you this is. I said it in the group chat, and that this is going to be World Cup 90 minutes with World Cup extra time, and it certainly has been. So thank you guys for sticking with us. And at any point that you've joined the stream, whether you've just joined or you came in earlier, really appreciate it, guys. As the algorithm won't be doing us nice, as I've been off for a month, but you guys have shown so much support and really appreciate you and love to you all. But before we wrap up, let's go through the predictions. We had 2-2 Palace here against Fulham. This could be a cracker. We said that there could be goals in there, and I agree. Definitely agree with you there, Wilf. 2-1 Palace against Fulham. Leicester losing by 1-0 to Newcastle, which would be an excellent result, and a 2-0 Brighton win there. 2-0 Southampton. Wilf is believing in Nathan Jones and the Saints. We've got 2-1 Palace from Rich, 2-0 Brighton, and 2-1 Newcastle in there as well. And Wilf's also gone for a 2-0 Newcastle win. And Gay being suspended, even more chances for goals there, Rich. 1-0 Palace, 2-1 Newcastle, and 1-1 in the South Coast derby right there. Moss has gone for a draw in the London derby between Palace and Fulham. What else have we got? Anderson, he should be back because they got knocked out in the group stages. And I've seen, the likes of Nunez, they've been back, and those and the likes of them. So I expect, and even Ramsdale's back, and I know he didn't really play, but yeah, even he's back, and England made it to the quarters. So I imagine he would play, even if he hasn't had many minutes in the friendlies. Hoping Palace can make my European place prediction come true. Could you imagine at Selhurst Park, the atmosphere, even if it's a Conference League, it'd be crazy. With their
have Palace ever made it into Europe? Genuine question, especially with Rich and Wilf in the chat.
You got to think with the Bright era, possibly.
But they didn't win any cups or anything that I know of. So it's a genuine question. Obviously, European places weren't given out quite as low down.
True.
And Palace and Wolves have often been also runs in the Championship in my lifetime as well. So it'd be really interesting because obviously when Wolves went a couple of years ago, it was the first time we've been there since the 1970s. So it's a genuine question, Rich, especially as you're in the chat. It would be incredible if it was the first ever European tilt as well.
Yeah, true. Yeah, let us know, Rich, because I was thinking, I don't know, and I've never seen it, but I just thought because of how good that Palace team was with Wright and Bright, they beat Liverpool, didn't they? And that was a very good Liverpool back then. So yeah, I'm thinking that possibly. Maybe with a weak defense, Palace 2-2. Moss, yep, you got plenty of time, Moss. Don't worry about that to get your pick sorted. Get them in the comments at the end of this video, guys, as well. Leicester, Newcastle could also be a 2-2. Eddie Howe in for shout of manager of the season, in my humble but accurate opinion. Outstanding so far. Agree. I definitely agree. And that's when, yeah, it's him, Arteta at the moment. And I think Eddie Howe might nick it. I do really.
And then
when
Lopetegui takes us to eighth in the league in the next 20-odd games.
Hey, I love that, man. Hey, keep this optimism. It's like this, before the season optimism, and you lose your first game.
Oh yeah, it's late as well. It's after 10 o'clock. I'm normally fast asleep by now. I think I'm drunk on being awake.
Yeah. The hormones, the hormones are doing a madness. he's trying to sleep. Wait to eat. Yeah, exactly. I know he's still catching me. I still love that comment. Let's have a look. They wanted a Rebo at Southampton as well. Before we went to Southampton, makes sense. Hey, I knew I saw something beyond his color of his skin. Yeah. Algorithmic reset though, but Ted talks and Ed educates. We'll get it up and running again. I love that there, Pax. Love it indeed. Moss says I don't think they ever have. No, don't think Palace have made European football. We're meant to, okay. I think, during the English ban years for hooliganism, possibly. Vibes. I went to sleep and they're still live. But big up the TTF always. Hey, it's true. You could have had a nice nap. And
we may have been late. We might have been late coming on, but we've given you your money's worth.
Exactly that there. Hey, but yes, guys, we are going to wrap it up now. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all the love and support that you guys have shown. It has been a while. I've left you for a month without even letting you guys know that this was going to happen. But yeah, man, sometimes you need to take those breaks. It was lots going on. You saw how busy. Well, I'm sure a lot of you who are content creators as well, and even within your own lives, have had a lot going on in recent times. So yeah, man. But I'm back, people. No planned breaks coming up soon, and yeah, this should be a good time. And let's hope for more to come. And only break I'm going to have. I'm not going to be streaming on Christmas Day. I can tell you that. But yeah, mate, we're going to get Boxing Day. I'm going to get a stream for the Arsenal game for you guys there. So yeah, this should be a good one. And yeah, thank you for tuning in once again, as always. And Ed, you got any last words? Anything that I need to point out?
No, I think just obviously predictions for the games in the comments. Get in Discord if you're not already. Get them all in. Obviously, everything to do with pushing the algorithm. And as I always say, who's going to be Birthday Boy Paxton to get in their predictions into the comments straight after the video. But yeah, the prediction leads up and running. I'll put a refresh in of where the table is and where it all ended as well, and we'll crack on from there. So yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be doing this, and I'm off work all week, so this feels like the best way to spend an evening, to be honest. I've loved it. So yeah, thanks for having me back on, and thanks for doing it. And yeah, TTF, you've been massive all the way through this. We've been chatting for over 2 hours, and I don't think we've dropped below double figures the whole time. So big up, thank you everyone for doing it.
Hey, big up you, each and every one of you guys. You're the best, and I hope that you all have a Merry Christmas.
Yes, that's a big thing.
And those of you that don't celebrate Christmas, hope you have some great time with the family as well. People, it's really appreciated it. And yeah, guys, we spent time away from the TTF fam. Now we're back, and now it's time to spend more time with the other fam. But I hope you have a good one, people. Stay blessed, love, and peace to you all. We are out.